we'll do it. I'd like to call to order the March 11th, 2025 Columbia Borough Council meeting. Could I have a roll call, please?
Councilperson Thompson.
Here.
Councilperson
Here.
Councilperson Stahl.
Here.
Councilperson Fisher.
Here.
Councilperson Giese.
Here.
Councilperson Murphy.
Here.
Councilperson Brigard.
Here.
Mayor Lutz.
Here.
Thank you.
All right. We have John Lehman would like to offer an invocation. So if you'd like, please rise.
Let us pray. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, amen. We pray, O Lord, for all those in our community who are responsible for our civic welfare, health, and security. Guide our council that they may have a care only for what will promote good government, and to all others in positions of responsibility, give such a sense of duty that no self-interest shall turn them from it. We also remember before you those who are employed in our service in dangerous or lowly work. For we are all members one of another, and all our labor is in honor in your sight. Help each one of us to do well with this work we have to do for the good of all. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, amen.
Councilperson Brigard, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Announcement of executive sessions. At the conclusion of the council meeting on March 3rd, council held an executive session to discuss personnel matters. Are there any additions, deletions, or reorganization of the agenda needed? I have one move Chief Brommer before number 6, so he would be like 5B. Or something like that. Does anyone have anything else that needs added, deleted, reorganized? Could I have a motion to approve the reorganized agenda?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Giese to approve the reorganized agenda. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. So we'll go for it.
Okay.
We're at Chief Brommer.
Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity. Courageous, tenacious, determined are but a few adjectives that describe our officers and citizens who will be recognized this evening. We gather here this evening to recognize the heroic and selfless acts by our police officers and citizens. The men and women of the Columbia Borough Police Department recognized this evening, as well as the citizens, put aside their safety to protect the residents of this community. The Columbia Borough Police Department is made up of wonderful men and women who have dedicated their lives to protecting and serving our community. These officers are committed to making our community safer and a better place to live. And from time to time, these officers exceed our expectations. And what is unique this evening is, and it brings me great pleasure to recognize these citizens who place their lives of others before themselves. So I'd like to first of all call Officer Jack Kopp, Officer Rebecca Blatt, and Officer Zachary Throne forward for a formal swearing.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
Have fun, man. There he is. Yay.
We're actually going to recognize Zachary Throne as well. We're actually do the formal swearing right now. Yes. Thank you.
Is there someone in one of the families where they come up and hold the Bible? Please. There we go. Okay, you raise your right hand, place your left hand on the Bible and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear or affirm
I do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support,
that I will support,
obey, and defend
obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of the Commonwealth,
and that I will discharge
and that I will discharge
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Congratulations.
Hi. I just want to say congratulations.
Thank you. Jack, why don't we start with you? Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Say a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background, and also give us one positive thing about Columbia Borough since you've been here.
Hi, my name's Jack Hopp. I've been here for about 2 years now. I graduated from Milledgeville University in 2022. Started working here shortly after.
Sorry, we're not like, we're a little out of sorts tonight.
I really like this town. I grew up in Hershey. It's nice to see the sense of community that you guys all have. And I enjoy working here. It's a fun town, and glad to be here.
I'm Zach Thurn. I'm still in FTO. I've only been here 2 months. I graduated from Ursinus College out in Philly in 2022. And I just like the tight-knit sense of community we have here. I mean, everyone seems to know everyone else. And just everyone I work with is pretty awesome, and it's been great. So I'm excited to be here.
Stand on my tiptoes. I am Rebecca Blatt. I've been here since July of last year. I also graduated from Millersville University. And I grew up in Hamburg, so it was a town that is like Columbia. That's really what drew me as soon as I walked into state. All the pictures on the wall. It was just, I felt instantly like I was at home, and there's a lot of interesting people here. So every day is an adventure, and I'm loving it. Thank you.
Okay, for our first recognition this evening, we're going to do a Citizen Recognition Award. So I will call the Meiselberg employees forward. Mason Meisel, Stoudemire Campbell, Mason McClare, and Sean Lindebeck. So on December 5th of 2024 at approximately 12:13 p.m., a shooting incident occurred on the 100 block of Avenue H. An unknown assailant shot a victim multiple times, causing serious injuries. Employees with Meiselberger HVAC Company were working nearby and heard the shots. Immediately, and without concern for safety, the employees, Mason Meisel, Stoudemire Campbell, Mason McClare, and Sean Lindbeck, responded to the scene to render aid to the victim. These young men put aside their safety to help a critically wounded victim. They not only called Lancaster County-wide communications, the 911 center, to provide information to responding emergency services, they also rendered aid to the victim until the arrival of police and ambulance personnel. So not only hearing this in my words, we took some statements from the individuals so you can hear it in their own words. Stoudemire Campbell states, "I was outside when the shots went off. When I heard moaning, I ran over and yelled for the guys inside. When I got to the man, I saw he was shot. I called 911 while I applied pressure for a couple seconds until McClare came over and took over so that I could talk to 911. Sean Lindbeck stated, Meisel, McClare, Campbell, and I were working at the Walnut Street property when they heard gunshots. Campbell and I heard someone calling for help, so we ran over to the alley and we found the guy lying on the ground. We called 911 and McClare started applying pressure to the wounds, and I helped flag down the officers to the alleyway. Mason McClare stated, Meisel and I were inside working when Campbell yelled for us to come out. After we got outside, I noticed the blood on his shirt and started applying pressure where the blood was coming from. Once units arrived, they took over from there. And finally, Mason Meisel states, McClare and I ran out once Campbell caught us. McClare put pressure on the wound, and I was waiting for the officers to arrive on scene. Campbell and I talked to the officers, telling them everything that happened. So it was through their courageous and selfless act that the shooting victim received immediate life-saving treatment. The immediate response and disregard for their own safety within a minute of the shooting is a testament to these fine young men. We applaud those who place others before themselves. Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you. Thank you.
Mason. Columbia Borough Police Department Citizen Recognition Award is hereby presented to Claire in recognition of your courageous actions during an emergency. It was through your courageous and selfless act that a shooting victim received life-saving help. Thank you, I'm proud of you, man. Sean Lindbeck. I'll read the same thing. You heard it. Columbia Borough Police Department Citizen Recognition Award is hereby presented to Sean Lindbeck in recognition of your courageous actions during an emergency. It was through your courageous and selfless act that a shooting victim received life-saving help. Columbia Borough Police Department Citizen Recognition Award is hereby presented to Mason Meisel. In recognition of your courageous actions during an emergency, we wish through your courageous and selfless act that a shooting victim receive life-saving help. Studemeyer Campbell. Columbia Borough Police Department Citizen Recognition Award is hereby presented to Studemeyer Campbell. In recognition of your courageous actions during an emergency, it was through your courageous and selfless act that a shooting victim received life-saving help.
Paul, did you have your hand? I just gonna sit down one here. Mayor, do you want to get in there? No. Or I can?
Sure. Get in there, man. It'll help. It'll help.
I know, I'm shrinking, I'm trying to like.
I'll get you next one.
Great job, guys.
Next, I call forward Brian Kaiser, Officer Brian Kaiser, and William Schnagel. William? Please come forward. Up front. Officer Kaiser and Mr. Schnagel are recognized this evening for saving an elderly female from a fire. Officer Kaiser is receiving the Life-Saving Award for service as set forth in the following. Officer Brian Kaiser demonstrated heroic acts, putting aside his own safety to enter a residence consumed by fire to rescue an elderly female. Without the intervention of Officer Kaiser and William Schnagel, a resident, the incident would have resulted in the death of the female victim. While working the night shift on Friday, August 16th, 2024, Officer Kaiser located a dwelling fire at 118 North 8th Street at approximately 8:01 p.m. Officer Kaiser discovered that a female on the second floor of the dwelling was trapped and screaming for help. The front door was secured, causing Officer Kaiser to force entry and to begin a search of the residence. Putting aside his own welfare, Officer Kaiser entered the burning residence with no protective gear, located the female victim, and removed her from the residence. And this was in conjunction with Mr. Schnagel. Upon extricating the fire victim, Officer Kaiser summoned medical help. It was through the immediate intervention of Officer Brian Kaiser and William Schnagel that the fire victim is alive today. Officer Brian Kaiser's actions were in keeping with the finest traditions of law enforcement and reflect distinct credit upon himself and the Columbia Borough Police Department. Thank you, gentlemen. I do.
Gentlemen, thank you. Thank you. For the guy.
Thank you, Jack.
Yeah, I think so.
You got him?
Okay, next, we're going to recognize Corporal Andrew Snyder and Officer Jack Cobb. Both officers are being recognized this evening for saving a suicidal male on the Route 30 bridge. On April 21st, 2024, at approximately 9:14 p.m., officers with the Columbia Borough Police Department were dispatched to a disabled vehicle along State Route 30. While en route, the West Hempfield Police Department received a call for a suicidal male sitting on the railing of the bridge over the Susquehanna River. It was reported that the male left a message stating that he would jump. Corporal Andrew Snyder and Officer Jack Cobb arrived to find a distraught male straddling the bridge railing. Upon verbally engaging the male, officers tactically approached and grabbed the subject, preventing him from going over the edge. Officers spoke compassionately with the male, getting him to calm down. When an ambulance arrived, the subject became very tense and attempted to pull himself over the edge of the bridge into the water. Both officers pulled the male down from the railing by removing his grasp. Corporal Snyder and Officer Cobb maintained control over the subject as he continued to struggle with the officers. As additional officers arrived, the male was taken into custody and placed into an ambulance for transport to a local hospital. It is through their quick action and a disregard for their own safety that the male was saved. And for this, they both received letters of commendations for life-saving. Thank you. Next, we'll call forward Officer Brent Kaiser. Brent Kaiser is being recognized along with Officer Brent Smith, who is unable to be here this evening, for their handling of a shooting incident. On November 1st, 2024, at approximately 1:27 p.m., Officer Brent Smith and Corporal Brent Kaiser were dispatched to the 400 block of Avenue K for a shots fired incident. Both officers arrived on Avenue K to find several shots into an occupied structure and multiple assailants having fled the scene. Smith and Kaiser immediately secured the scene and began the search for the shooters. A tipster provided information on the possible location of the assailants, and West Hempfield Officer Cameron Powers helped contain the suspects at an address on the 200 block of South 4th Street. Despite limited staffing and 2 separate incident scenes, Officer Smith and Corporal Kaiser were able to control the crime scene, investigate the incident, identify the actors, and arrest them. Upon execution of a search warrant, officers recovered 3 handguns and other evidence. Of the 3 handguns, 1 was stolen out of Dauphin County, and another was a ghost gun. Based on the evidence from the investigation, Officer Smith charged 3 suspects for the shooting incident. It was through the hard work and determination of Officer Smith and Corporal Kaiser that this investigation was brought to a swift and successful conclusion. The following agencies assisted Columbia Borough Police: Lancaster County Drug Task Force, West Hempfield Police Department, Manor Township Police Department, Susquehanna Regional Police Department, Mount Joy Police Department, Northwest Regional Police Department, Millersville University, Lancaster County Sheriff's Office, Pelham Township Police Department, Lower Windsor Police Department, and Springettsbury Police Department. So it was quite an incident, and many law enforcement agencies assisted and helped to bring this to a safe conclusion. As a result of their actions, both are receiving a letter of commendation, a unit citation. Thank you. Thank you. Next, I'll call Sergeant Adam Miller forward. Sergeant Miller is receiving the Community Policing Award for service as set forth in the following. In recognition of Sergeant Adam Miller for developing and managing a community reading program that positively impacts the youth of our community through the teaching of safe practices and results in students developing greater respect for the Columbia Borough Police officers. Sergeant Adam Miller started a kindergarten reading program with the Columbia Borough School District over 15 years ago, impacting over 1,500 students. This program is the longest running police department community outreach in the Borough of Columbia. During that time, Sergeant Miller spent countless hours reading to the students, developing relationships, teaching safety, and positively impacting the youth of our community. As a result of the program, the Columbia Borough youth developed greater respect for law enforcement, and the students learned how to be safer and conduct themselves more respectfully. And in keeping with the finest traditions of law enforcement, this police department outreach program serves to bring the community and its police agency closer. Thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you better turn around.
Next, I'll call forward Officer Frank Ember, Officer Zach Throne, Officer Rebecca Blatt, and Sergeant Holly Arndt. These officers are being recognized this evening for apprehending a fugitive homicide suspect. On February 15th, 2025, at 7:30 p.m., Officer Frank Ember III conducted a traffic stop at the 600 block of Walnut Street for a faulty brake light. The driver, Huáscar del Rosario Ernesto, provided Officer Ember with a Dominican Republican identification card, and Lancaster County-wide communications was unable to verify his identity. Officer Blatt and Officer Throne responded to assist. Due to the language barrier, Ernesto contacted a licensed driver to retrieve the vehicle. Officer Ember used good tactics, and when the licensed driver arrived, he asked him the appropriate questions, important questions, to obtain more information about Ernesto. Officer Ember learned that Ernesto was delivering food for an area business located in the 200 block of Locust Street in Columbia. Sergeant Holly Arndt ran an INS query in Clean, and it took approximately 30 minutes to receive the information. The information was then received that this individual had an illegal status. Sergeant Arndt obtained a contact number for an on-call Immigration Customs Enforcement officer. After the traffic stop was concluded, an ICE officer out of Philadelphia, an ICE officer contacted Officer Ember and informed him that Ernesto's immigration status had been revoked and that he was wanted out of Philadelphia for a homicide that occurred in October of 2024. Officer Ember relayed this information to his platoon and immediately conducted surveillance on the suspect's place of employment. During his surveillance, Officer Ember spoke with some employees who indicated that Ernesto was currently in a second-floor apartment located inside the business. Sergeant Arndt contacted the West Hempfield Police Department and requested their assistance. Sergeant Arndt, Officer Throne, Corporal Murray from West Hempfield, Officer Piper responded to the suspect's location, and Officer Blatt took the initiative to secure the front of the property. Officers went inside and contacted employees who led officers to an upstairs apartment. As officers were clearing the apartment, Officer Throne noticed an open window and observed fresh shoe prints in the snow on the second floor roof. Ernesto was found hiding on the rooftop in an attempt to evade police. The homicide suspect was taken into custody and committed to Lancaster County Prison until he was transferred to the Philadelphia Police. During the investigation, officers became aware of an illegal rental above the business, and this information was passed on to the Columbia Borough Codes Department. Steps were taken to close the illegal rental and correct an unsafe condition. It is through the tenacity, determination, and teamwork of these officers that a dangerous individual was apprehended. Officers showed exemplary policing and a commitment to keeping our community safe. And for this, our officers will receive a letter of commendation or a unit citation. Thank you. this concludes our presentations for the evening. Thank you.
At this time, I'll pause for a couple of minutes for anyone that wanted to leave. Not saying that you have to, because I do like having a full room, but I know. That's what I'm saying.
Good.
Yeah, you can move back. You don't have to.
to.
I mean, you can sit up with us. I'm cool.
Frank likes it there. You keep a close eye on me. Guess we have to put some seats in there. Then you can hear better. Put some seating in there so you can hear better. Hey, let's try my nameplate. You don't know why. That's good. Good thinking. Spin it on. Mix and match. She looks like something. I didn't know she had a son in town.
All right. I think everyone that wanted to leave is out. No, I don't really want the door shut. Yeah. The next section is citizen comment, non-agenda items only. The first sign up we have is Sharon Littner.
Good evening. I guess it's still on. Can you hear me?
No.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, first I wanted to start with discussing, just commenting on what happened last week with the live stream. After that, there was some misinformation circulating about live streaming of meeting minutes. Some were referring that perhaps Columbia was the only municipality doing that. And I did check, and I found that some others are doing it. I certainly didn't check all 60. Lancaster City live streams, Lidditz Borough provides a Zoom-style live stream, Ephrata Borough, and Mountjoy. During one of our not so long ago council meetings, it was brought up again, and a council person said, if we don't have to do it, why are we doing it? And the borough manager had told me that we aren't required to provide live streaming, which I understand. But these remarks lead me to believe that there is a desire to eliminate the live streaming service. And my question to council is, why would you want to do less for the residents instead of more? I think we should try to do everything we can to keep this service going. Even if we're the only people, the only municipality in the county doing it, we're providing a service. So that was my first topic. My next one, there were some suggestions last week during the work session that weren't heard because, of course, there was no audio, weren't heard by most of the people. And the minutes, of course, are not reflecting every word that was said. So some of the suggestions made about cutting costs for the budget and so forth actually are going to cost us money. So I was a little baffled by that. I know there was a suggestion about a beach at River Park. Sounds like a lot of fun, but again, that would cost us money and maintenance.
That was like 2010, so.
And I'm sorry,
That was back in like 2010.
but it was brought up last
No,
week.
that's just, I was repeating what things had been suggested before when some other land was under her control. That's all.
Okay,
Mm.
it was brought up last week, so I'm just saying it. And again, I wouldn't have known that because I had to leave early and there was no audio. So I had no way of knowing what else you said. Based strictly off the minutes. And then I believe it was Councilwoman Fisher suggested a 1% sales tax be added on top of the 6% state tax. And I found this to be basically unbelievable that it was even suggested because we just raised taxes by 2 mils. And I found that to be kind of startling. Tonight, you're considering hiring another employee, albeit maybe part-time, I don't know. But again, adding costs. The discussion was to cut costs, as far as I know, it was stated that way. So it was an odd set of suggestions, in my opinion. I think the only people you're hurting are the poor people in town, because we also had the increase in street sweeping too, recently. There were 2 large apartment buildings added to the tax rolls not so long ago, and a few new homes on South Fifth Street. Now I'm asking, what did this do to help the tax base? Apparently nothing, because we got an increase. And we were told, if we could get things in town, businesses and more people, we would improve or stabilize our tax base. And now the McGinnis project promises to save us with, hopefully a more stable tax base. But I'm wondering when we're going to have enough. When's enough? So that we don't have to keep being faced with increases. And in closing, I just wanted to ask if council would refrain from joking about the $345,000 that were spent on the streetlights that have been laying around for 6 years. That is just not funny. It was taxpayer money, and that comes to about $750,000. And to joke about it when we are facing a tax increase seems grossly inappropriate. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon.
All right. Next sign up we have is Mindy Eisenhower.
Can you hear me? I have a scratchy throat, sorry. I have some questions for the council about the Market House. I used to be a vendor there. The question is, you just relieved the market manager of that position. When that manager first took over, and the Gypsy Kitchen that was there in the kitchen, that rented the kitchen from them, he told those, Ed Diller, his name's Ed Diller, that he owed a couple $1,000s in back rent, fees. And in lieu of those fees, they gave him a couple $1,000s worth of catering equipment, dishes. I know because he asked me to go through them because I did catering. He asked me to go through them and what they were for. And then they disappeared. My question is, where did they go? And is that going to be investigated? Is Mr. Diller going to be contacted about this issue, or is it just going to go away?
Will not go away.
It will not go away.
It was literally days worth of him bringing things into the market house and me looking at the things and telling him what they were and what they were used for, and then they just disappeared. And there were wheeled carts full of dishes, flatware, glasses, catering, chafing, like the whole 9 yards of catering. Where did it go? Because I know it disappeared. And I'm pretty sure that the borough did not know that. Because when you leave or your lease is done, you get a final bill or something from Lori. These people didn't get that. They got Chris's, you owe this, and they gave it to him in lieu of that fee.
And this was Gypsy Kitchen, did you say?
This was just Gypsy Kitchen. His name is Ed Diller. And his
Okay.
wife, I can't remember her name. And also, the second point is, he allowed vendors to use that commercial kitchen illegally. Because whenever you have a business and you're using a commercial kitchen, each individual business has to have it inspected. You can't just go in there and use a kitchen. You have to have it inspected. So if you do research about how much a commercial kitchen is worth, it's like $45 per hour. And a vendor in there that's still in there used that kitchen 3 days a week, way more than 8 hours a day. That's like $400 a day. Plus, they didn't have to pay insurance. So if something would have happened, the borough would have been liable for that.
Mhm.
Who's going to absorb that cost for the equipment wear and tear now that you can't use that kitchen until all the equipment is repaired? Who's going to absorb that cost? The vendors that are in there, that have been there, and they're pretty much their life, livelihood. Who's going to absorb that cost? That's some of the concern. I'm friends with some of the vendors still. That's just my question. That's my concern. Is there going to be investigation on what he did with all that stuff?
And which vendor is using the kitchen now?
I believe it was On the Bun was using that.
Yeah, I
She
don't,
was baking.
I don't wanna,
Yeah, I don't really want to.
I don't wanna get into that this evening. That's not,
No, but just be aware that
right,
that's
I mean,
that was a lot of revenue that was not collected for that purpose, that kitchen's purpose. That could have been, used for what it was intended.
Now, obviously, council nor I can comment on
Correct.
the
Right.
situation. But you, as I said before, you can rest assured, and the chief has been taking notes here, that what you said will be investigated on that.
Because like I said, I know that you would get a bill, they would have gotten a bill from Lori if that would have been the case. And they gave him all that, and I'm talking thousands of dollars worth of catering equipment.
Could you please see that the chief get your name?
Sure.
And contact information?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you. Next we have Margaret Schmidt.
Margaret Schmidt, not really prepared other than my 3 blocks walk. I was just having questions because I was kind of startled about the firing of Chris Vera. From what I have observed over the past few years, the market has been doing better and better as it goes. There's been the blocks of Gypsy Kitchen going out, Chai bailing on their contract. I just feel like something like this is a slow growth thing to start. And I don't know the numbers. Last time I was at the council, I know that the market had a 60 grand deficit for the year. And I thought that's about what he makes. That's pretty good for what he's been doing moving forward. As a taxpayer, I'm like, okay, that'll work. I'm willing to kick in some money for that. We have discretionary income. We'd like to keep it here in town. If this market goes downhill again, it's another slam in the face of staying here. Again, I don't know specifics, but Chris was there, present often, had things, just not just market days, had things going on. It seems like things are really picking up. And I would just like to have more information about the status of that, the numbers of that, and where it is moving forward. I'm not someone putting a lot of energy into it.
That's all being worked out. Thank you. The next sign up is Frank Daltrick.
Thank you all. Oh, I have to ask Jack here. The first three officers that was up there, I heard the first one say he was here 2 years. Now, I don't have the best hearing, but this is the best that I've heard sitting up front here. Now, if he was here 2 years, why was he only just sworn in?
Now, if you were sworn in previously, what we did this evening was a formal swearing in front of council and the public. So our officers are sworn by the mayor as soon as they return from school.
Okay, I figured it had to be a logical reason. I come to the meetings and I complain a lot, and I just want to tell the people here that council, I don't think you're bad people. You're just misguided. I sit here and I just wonder, where are you coming from? But for that reason, I just want to let you know that I don't hate anybody, but I'd like to get to the bottom of things. Being that I was on council years ago, I don't have all the answers, but I want to get the answers, and I don't want people to lie to me. When I get that tees me off. I'd like to go back to what Sharon said on the streaming. We had a citizen come here and talked almost 30 minutes. We have the maintenance guy. We had him at the last meeting in the audience, and the streaming was not on. Sharon Littner let the public know that it wasn't working. What would have been wrong was pausing the meeting and just giving the maintenance guy 5 minutes. He couldn't work on it while the meeting was going on. What would have been wrong was giving him 5 minutes to get this going. It gives me the impression that you don't care. And I've heard what Sharon said, that you really want to get rid of the streaming, which I understand. She come here tonight that if it wasn't working, and I don't know if it's working right now. If it wasn't working, they were going to stream it themselves. But I just don't understand. I figured Wilson's the maintenance guy. I figured he knows. I would think he knows how to fix it. It wasn't too long ago. They just give him a $20,000 raise on top of his regular raises that he got. So he must know something. So this is some of the things that I see, and I just have to tell you. Next question. You're not going to tell me, why was Chris Veer fired?
It's a personnel matter and we can't comment on that.
Yeah. I consider Chris a friend of mine. My daughter was through marriage relation somehow, but I called Chris. Chris didn't return my call. I wasn't happy with that. But some of the things that I seen when Chris was hired, council seen fit to give him a $70,000 salary. The fringe benefits took it probably over 100. Why, for a couple of days a week position? I mean, I'd like to see anybody gain and get ahead, but why would you make him an employee of the borough when you're trying to cut costs? You're looking for ways to save money. It's definitely a part-time position. So if you're saying this is a personnel matter, you won't talk about it. I can assume that there was money stolen, money taken somehow. And I guess some of us here have history of what's happened with the Market House over the years. And a family member was fired because of that. And you people don't do your homework. And you know why that is? You just don't have committee meetings no more. We always had committee meetings. highway, wastewater, market house. We had meetings at the market house, open to the public, sit down, and they aired these views. You just don't care. Well, it's too many meetings. I think Todd might have said that one time, if I can remember. Too many meetings. Well, why run for council? Why put your hand up and, hey, I'll sit here, I'll do it. Oh, no, it's too many meetings. We'll eliminate that. And you don't know. You aren't informed. I can tell you, I'll bet you I can pick an issue. I can take all 7 of you, probably the mayor too. I'll get 7 or 8 answers, different answers. I'm willing to bet on it. But you've got to bring them committee meetings back. They have the safety committee meeting. They finagle that somehow. I think that's some of the mayor's doings there. But council ain't authorizing this to have committee meetings. Oh, it's too much work for you. So why do you even run?
What's,
Can I answer
what
too?
was the salary? 56, not 100.
Right,
Who's this?
Chris Vera,
56,000, okay?
yes.
Not 100.
All right,
Now,
okay.
the safety committee meeting, hold on, Frank, I have the floor. I have the
You
floor.
got the floor, but I'm going to come back on.
The safety committee meetings are internal employee safety committee meetings that are a requirement with our insurance carrier. They're not safety committee meetings that you think they are, as far as with Todd and the safety committee and with Borough Council. They're internal safety committee meetings with the employees.
Is that it?
That's it.
When we used to have the safety committee meetings, the public was invited and we could find out what was going on. We could give our input. And for that, I figured you didn't want to hear that. Yes, the salary might be 56. How much is the fringes, Leo?
Probably 25.
Yep. 25.
And it wouldn't be that if you held that position part-time, knowing Chris would have took a part-time position. I know Chris.
I don't disagree with you, Frank.
When CHI bailed, we had a lot of discussion here at this table about what we were going to do. And we considered a part-time position or a full-time. And at that point, it was decided at the council meeting, actually multiple council meetings, that the desire was to have the full-time so that we could have someone in there getting the stands filled, doing that work, generating that, the relationships with different vendors, also putting time in to make sure that we had, that we could get events and so forth in there so that we could get the space used and generate more income. And that was a decision that was made sitting here at this table in public meetings that we were going to do a full-time position. That's why it was done at full-time.
What I seen, Heather, is you made a position that, well, we don't have to worry about that. Chris will take care of everything. And when you ain't on top of it, this is how things escalate. You ain't going to tell me what happened, but I'll find out eventually. And I have a good idea.
Chris also handled other things other than being the market manager. He was, he had upkeep on the borough website. He did the newsletters. Thank you. I'm having problems with words tonight. He
I do too.
did with our social media. So it wasn't like that was there were other tasks that he was given as well.
Well, like I said, I like Chris, and I don't like to talk down on him, but I go in every Saturday, and I have yet to see a couple of the council people, and the mayor, he's kind of making himself known now, but I've never seen some certain council people in that market house. How are you going to know what's going on if you don't go in there? I mean, It just, what I wanted to see, what I'd like to see was a brochure about the Market House. And the reason I'm bringing that up, I run into a lady outside the Market House. They were talking, and they wanted to know any brochures or any information on the Market House. What about the stands? How much they cost? No, the borough don't want to give that out. For some reason, I don't know. But you should have a brochure made up, and you should have committee meetings. You should have Market House meetings with the public to know what's going on. The one-on-one meetings, we don't know what's happening. We don't know what's going on. And maybe we should know. I don't know. But I think you should, and I don't think you're on top of it. And I just don't think you're informed. I don't know who your boss is supposed to be, but I just don't think you're very well informed. Again, I'm like Sharon. I'd like to comment on that 1% sales tax that they want to put on people. What do you want to tax with that 1%, Barbara?
Should I answer or no?
If you
Can I
want.
make a comment?
Yes.
I was gonna save this for the end of the meeting at my comments, but we have borough work sessions to hash out ideas, anything that might be a possibility. Doesn't even mean that the person who suggested it was in favor of it.
Right. It's just brainstorming.
It's brainstorming.
That's all it is.
And I'll just say this, like there's a lot of complaints that we don't have enough public meetings to talk about enough ideas. The more ideas that are discussed in public, the more ideas are potentially going to be thrown off to the wayside. We're not going to do them. So we can't both criticize public meetings and discussion and then also complain that we don't have enough of it.
So
Thank you, Pete.
I'll go back to you.
Yes, thank
Pete.
you.
I was going to also wait till the end of the meeting, but since you started, I want to confirm what you're saying or concur with what you're saying. And I want to thank council who came last week at the work session and anybody in the public. We've invited anybody in the public to come with ideas. Anybody who brought we asked for the craziest ideas because this is a difficult problem. You're not going to walk in here with a quick slash cut and solve the problem, which some people think is the answer. That's not going to work. It's convenient to say, you guys are going to talk about ways to cut taxes. No. That's a change of phrase that is convenient for some, I know. That wasn't the point of the discussion, not to find ways to cut taxes, but to find ways to cut taxes, generate revenue, and somehow balance this budget. I love the convenient selections of words to serve one's own purpose and motives. I appreciate it. I encourage all of you here and all of those who are listening to us on live stream, if it is working, hopefully it is, because we want the live stream to work. And I'm offended by the fact that you people, the same people, constantly come up here and criticize Borough Council about their distaste for the community. It's wrong. And you couldn't be more wrong. You're completely wrong. And it's offensive. So I appreciate anybody who comes here next work session with a crazy idea. Share a 2% tax hike idea. If it gets us to the right answer, it's the right answer. The right answer might be painful. I'm not saying that's the right answer, but the conversation around that might get us to the right answer. So thank you, Pete, for sharing that. Now was the time to share it, not later at the end of the meeting. I'm sorry. I know this is public comment time,
Right.
but sometimes enough is enough.
I get it.
And Frank, I would like to go back to, I'm sure there's people in this room who would prefer, shall we say, if I just left at a dead issue. But as somebody who was on council at the end of 2008, early 2009, when the previous incident with the Market House that you referenced back to, I was deeply involved in that. As a matter of fact, there was many in the community that after that current market manager at that time was relieved of their duties, who blamed me personally for that. And for a good year after that, my name was mud around this town. I lost a lot of friends who I thought were my friends, and they weren't. It would have been easier for me to just step back and just say, just let it slide. Because then you won't hear the crap that you have to hear. But there's a hard part to this job, and that's doing what you know has to be done. And to sit here and say that council doesn't care, or they look the other way, or they just ignore it is BS, pure and simple BS. Because if that would have been the case, maybe, just maybe, council's due diligence and watchdogness is what brought this current situation to its head. Maybe, just maybe.
Well, Kelly.
I take personal offense to it. Personal.
Are you done?
Yes,
This ain't my first meeting.
I know.
I come to meetings after meetings, and I see what you people get into with your tax and spending. I look at the McGinnis property. I look at the two properties down on Front Street that maybe neither one incorporated and started it, but you were here for what, 2-3 years, and you didn't do nothing with it, and they're not going nowhere. They're costing us money. I heard the president and vice president jump over the solicitor because he wasn't doing his job to get that done down there. Now you jump into another one, and now we got the one up on Ridge Avenue. We're going to deal with that. It's your spend. Who are you going to hire tonight? You're going to hire 2 more people tonight. The second one, I don't have no idea what that's for. One's a part-time janitor. You've got to look at your spending.
Conversation before too.
And
I'm only on council back on now for 15 months. This is my 15th month. I wasn't on council when certain decisions were made.
Well-
But we talked about this before. When you join council, you have to work with what's in play. And that's what I'm doing. Working with everybody that's on council, trying to be part of a team to find solutions. That's what we're all working for here. It's not easy. If it was, I'd sit out there.
Kelly, to be blunt,
Yeah.
there's a municipal election coming up.
Yeah.
Where's the people running for office? What they do, they run for office because they coach their kids in school and they know them that way. Now they get elected. Guess what? Somebody takes them hand in hand, one by one. Here's what you need to know. But why wouldn't they come to a meeting and find out what's going on, what you people are doing?
I don't know that any of us can answer.
Yeah.
Well, most of you did the same thing.
Well,
Most
absolutely
of
not,
yous
Frank.
I've never seen here.
Frank, I was not born and raised in this town. I moved here in 2002 of our own free volition. In 2004, I came to Mount Council meetings regularly and spoke out about things. My speaking out on things is what had people come to me and encourage me. Well, you seem like you know what you're talking about. Maybe you should run for council. I didn't know anybody in this town. Hell, when I walked around doing my first, canvassing to try to get votes, I'd hand them my flyers. You know what my window, my foot in the door was? I'd hand them a flyer. My name's Kelly Murphy. They said, "Oh, I thought you were a woman." Hey, great. It broke the ice, didn't it?
Yeah. How many of the people that voted for you never come to a meeting? Never. And I think what hurt you, Kelly, is your 25% raise, your tax raise. That's what killed the people.
All right.
I'd like to address Todd, but I'll do that a little later on. I want to ask about the McGinnis property that you give me some information on, but I'm not quite clear. My understanding is we got $1 million from the sale down in Blue Lane, and we got $4 million in grants. Is that money in hand with the $4 million?
No, and it's not 4 million. It's 3 million. Well, the 1 million is in hand. Well, it's not. It's
The $1 million we got from Blue Lane.
no, $1 million of a grant that we got from DCED. We received that money. There is 3 million in a grant that we have not closed on yet, but we're meeting with DCED tomorrow to talk about when we can close on that. That, along with that 3 million, is the $5 million loan.
Okay. Are these grants matching?
No. The $1 million grant was no strings attached. It was $1 million to get the project started. The $3 million is in conjunction with the $5 million loan. There's no match on that. It's a business in our sites money. And it is to do exactly what we're doing out there, taking a brownfield and bringing it into, bringing business into the community. It's exactly what it's for.
Okay. And we don't know how much that's going to cost to do that.
Not yet, no.
Do we have any kind of idea?
Well, we have the idea from when we were talking about it in 22, when the pro formas were done before we purchased the property.
Yeah, well, that's.
So we know what at that time, what it would cost to do even different parts of it, like to do this much, to do this much. That was all part of the pro forma.
Okay, we got that, and we're going to tear the house down on 9th Street. The place that you paid $200-some thousand for a house to put the roadway in there. You had mentioned the plan at this time is probably to get all this work done, get it, well, I don't know if you call that shovel ready or not, but get that done and then put it up for sale. So then the person buying it will, you use the word, you might partner with them. And from what I see.
There's a whole lot of ideas on the table, Frank, and
So we don't know where we're going.
we do know where we're going. We're getting the property ready for a business park, a light industrial or business park. It could go, there's many different ways that we could take to get to that end.
Didn't we have this discussion with Frank just last week?
Yes, we
Okay.
did.
Yes, we
Then let's just stop.
just had it last.
I'm sorry, Ed.
We discussed this with you last week.
I know you did, but I didn't get the particulars of what I wanted.
That,
So,
the same
like-
question
Frank,
you
I have
just
a feeling
asked, you asked last
we're not
week.
going to be able to give you any of the particulars you want because you want something that we don't
Well,
have.
I want to know what's going to be there when you are done spending the money and you want somebody to come in and buy it. Now you're saying that use the borough, by the borough doing this, they're getting the grants and everything, they have money that can go to the people buying the property. Well, what's going to be there is what I'm trying to figure out. And if you could tell me, Barbara, I'd appreciate it.
Well, yeah. Can you just go to last week's streamline and just read it again? What? Oh, it's on audio.
Whatever. Again, I'll go back to my original, that without committee meetings, you people aren't informed. Who's ever supposed to inform you on what goes on? You remember when the recent borough manager was here, he met one-on-one. So now each one of you's had a different aspect of what should go on at council. And by having the committee meetings, you can get in there and hash things out. The meeting that you're talking about, Peter, it's not going, I don't see anything happening with it. I hate to say that.
What meeting?
The meeting where we can come and voice our opinions.
Mm-hmm.
The
The
workshop.
workshop?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
workshop.
We have them every
the
month.
first
I
Tuesday
know,
of every
I know,
month.
I don't see it working.
Right, this has kind of just turned into a
It ain't
workshop
like-
here.
It ain't like the committee meeting. I don't hear things that should come out that's not coming out. I always go back and look at what was covered up and I'll stick with my other saying that I can ask all 7 of you, plus the borough manager, plus the mayor, I'll get 7 or 8 different answers. I'm willing to bet you on it. I asked about Mark, and I got a couple different answers, but I'm not going to relate to what I know at this point.
All right,
Thank you for letting me talk.
Thank you, Frank.
The next sign up we have is Travis Mueller. Oh, okay. I hope you weren't just, you're not just withdrawing because you didn't want to follow Frank. All right. Yes,
Take 10 seconds because of what Frank
yes.
said. Thank you. you. And I know you're very generous with his 15 minutes, because I have a feeling it might have gone over. You said you won't tell us why you fired Chris, but then my question is, why were you able to put that on an executive brief when you let the janitor go? It was
I
clearly
didn't-
stated the
I
reason.
didn't do that. I don't.
But if you're going to tell us why one
It shouldn't have been
left,
done.
We know,
why
shouldn't
not
have been
the
done.
rest?
it should not have been done.
Okay,
We realized it shouldn't have been
So
done,
that
that's
was a
why it was
mistake.
not done.
but it
Right.
was, it was there.
Right.
Okay. And I think the discussion that was had this evening here, I think you better tread lightly on how you talk to residents. I'm just saying, they have a right to come to this podium, voice their opinion without any intimidation. And I took it when I sat up there from some people, and you just have to suck it up and take it. I mean, I think you need to be very careful how you talk to residents.
Thank you, Sharon.
All right. Now, let's get to the business.
Can I ask you a question? If somebody wanted to try to.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I often say that. Is there anybody that wanted to address council that didn't get a chance to sign up? Okay. Please state your name for the record.
My name is Allison Liebgott. I'm a local business owner here. I run an artist collective above Columbia Kettleworks. I understand that there's not going to be any discussion involving Chris, though I do feel the need to stand up and speak on his behalf, as he is a good friend of mine and a very phenomenal contributor to this particular community. Again, I know that you're not going to tell us why, but I do just want to mention that as a transplant here myself, I'm not from Columbia. I actually just moved here a couple years ago after starting my business, and my artists always go to the market house every Saturday, and we have been seeing the progression over the last few years since Chris has taken over. I remember when he told me that he was running for that particular position, and I almost jumped right out of my house window. I was so excited because as the main person that runs the Historical Preservation Society, I don't think there could be anybody better, not to mention, I know that his mom ran it for a while at some point in time in the past. I also know, as an events coordinator, how much it requires to do just that, let alone organize an entire market house full of vendors. And I can speak from personal experience from seeing the growth myself. It is wonderful going in there every Saturday, and I know that there are a plethora of people from outside of this community that go there specifically because Chris runs it. And just from hearing about this, I myself have had a number of people from outside of the community asking me what I know, and I don't know nothing. But if the reason that he is no longer there is because of some kind of lack of being able to handle the workload, I would just like to mention that last year there was an incident where Chris had to check himself into the hospital, and he checked himself out so that he could come run an event and then checked himself back in. You're not going to find a member of the community here anyway that's going to give that much of a darn about what's going on here to make sure that something is working for everybody here. So I just feel like we need to, if it is a matter of, something to do with money and his salary, which I'm kind of convinced probably not. But if you're telling me that when you first decided to hire him as a full-time employee, perhaps this is a job for 2 part-time people. So is it possible that wherever it was that Chris was lacking, you could have possibly offered him some help before firing him? Because there are so many people that are angry right now. And I myself, I have been going to the market house specifically since he started running it, and I don't really care to go back. And Heather, I have seen you there multiple times, so sorry, Frank, but I know that people here have been going and seeing the progress. So that's it. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Allison.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wanted to speak, didn't get a chance to sign up? All right. On to the business. Could I have a motion to approve the Borough Council meeting minutes for February 25th, 2025?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Murphy, to approve the Borough Council meeting minutes for February 25th, 2025. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Next, could I have a motion to approve the Borough Council workshop minutes for March 4th, 2025?
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stahl. Excuse me, to approve the Borough Council workshop minutes for March 4th, 2025. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, presentation and acceptance of reports, Public Works and Property. Councilperson Stahl.
Yes, I'd like to acknowledge the receipt of the Public Works and Property Report for February 2025. Just a reminder that street sweeping did start officially this week and will continue. Beware and move your cars at the appropriate times. I think the official parking tickets will start next week for any cars left in the path of the sweeper. Curbside waste pickup will also start Monday, March 31st, and continue every Monday throughout the borough. Jake, would you be able to comment on what you would like yard waste to be, how you would like yard waste to be prepared for pickup?
That's to be the brown print bags. No rocks, no dirt. It's supposed to be yard waste and yard waste debris. Any sticks or branches need to be in bottles. Provided with no plastic bags.
Thanks, Jake. Any other questions, comments?
Nope. All right. Finance, I would like to acknowledge receipt of the finance reports for January 2025. We normally get these the last meeting of the month. We'll be getting February's reports right on at the normal schedule. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns on the finance reports? All right. Chief Brommer already had his say, so Mayor Lutz.
What did he say? I promised I'd be short, Barry, but it's not gonna work out.
That's all right. We're just doing it all today.
As you saw tonight, a lot of members of our police department were here being honored. It should show you, and it shows me that we have a great police department, something to be proud of. I'm very proud of the department. I'm very proud of the department that Chief Brummer put together and our Civil Service Commission. And a couple of the officers you saw are new officers. So we're getting some real good officers that want to come work in Columbia Borough, and it's paying off. It's showing in their performance. I'm very proud of it. I'm also very proud of our citizens that were honored here tonight, and all our citizens. Columbia be what it may be, but Columbia people step up. Columbia people help each other, and Columbia people do not stand idly by when someone needs assistance. As my great uncle used to always say, that's us. That's Columbia. So I'm very proud of our folks who are honored here tonight. I want to thank Wilson, and I believe maybe the chief and some of the standholders. Last week, a leak was discovered in the market house, and thank goodness it was discovered prior to any damage being done to any of the standholders' equipment or anything like that there. And I will remark that I call it a cupola, that raised window area, has been a problem for as long as I've been around here, and maybe longer. And we can't wait. We got spring and summer coming upon us, and if history repeats itself, we're probably going to see some dandy storms, thunderstorms and all, and I don't want to see anything get ruined in there, especially after all the work's been done. So I think we need to get on that. find out what the problem is there. It's been a problem for a long time, and try to solve that problem. I just wanted to mention that because to me, that's very important that we get on that. We can't wait on that. And Bonnie don't want to get wet. Anyhow, so I wanted to mention that. Yeah, and Evan, I'm going to lean on you a little bit. I'm a little disturbed here tonight, a little worried. With the dismissal of the market manager. It has been said, will be said, that Borough can't comment on that. There have been some comments, though, here tonight. One comment that especially disturbed me was a comment made about money. And folks out there need to understand there has been no information about the dismissal of the market manager given out to the public. This is a personnel matter. It's a closed matter, meaning closed to counsel and our legal counsel. But I was disturbed. I don't want people out there to hear something on the paid playback and read something into it. Did you care to comment on that, Evan?
I would just advise everyone to be cautious commenting on something specifically, something that may be accusatory of a criminal nature. That is defamation per se under the law. So I would just caution everybody that if you're going to say things like that, there could be repercussions. So just that's what I'll say about that. I can't tell anyone what to say or not to say, but you should be aware of that if you're going to come to a public meeting and accuse someone of making a crime or committing a crime.
Thank you. One last thing for Frank and others, Sharon. Last week we lost the audio portion. I don't think anybody sitting up here wants to see the streaming go away. I know the next day the audio portion wasn't easily fixed. Wilson could not have fixed it. The next day, the people were here because as I was in here working, I saw them here quite a few hours on Wednesday trying to repair that audio. So it wasn't something that someone turned off because they didn't want people to hear. It wasn't something that was a simple fix that Wilson or any other personnel for Columbia Borough could have fixed. They had to bring in a technician to try to repair what went wrong. And I don't know how many hours they were here, but I know they were here for quite a while.
Several hours, Mayor. Plus, I even signed a purchase order for some equipment that needed to be replaced underneath my seat here. So it would not have been something that could have been fixed during a meeting time.
I know we've been having glitches with it, and I'll say for the sake of we're sorry that those glitches are happening. Try to get them fixed, but there was no intent, and there was nothing that anybody here could have done that night to make it work. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Chief Brommer, did you have anything you wanted to add? You have like 30 seconds. Okay. All right. We do have a presentation. Frank, we're going to keep going down through our minute or through the meeting. It's not.
So I did my 3 minutes at the end.
When on the business part of the agenda, this is still all the administrative stuff.
Did you answer my question? Am I going to do my 3 minutes at the end?
If on other action items, yes, you can have your time. Next, we have a presentation by Pennsylvania Furniture Mission.
Good evening, everybody. So first of all, I want to say it's an honor to be in front of everybody here. I know the community here in Columbia, and I saw actually with my own eyes that you have heroes around here. So I want to say thank you to the community here for that. And the Pennsylvania Furniture Mission. I do not know if anybody here has heard about this organization. So I see some people say no. Okay, no, nodding their heads no. So we are a furniture bank. A furniture bank essentially provides people that dignity of choice, and people who are experiencing homelessness, economic hardship, veterans, refugees. I am personally an immigrant myself. I've been around Colombia for a year and 8 months, something like that. I do actually really like this town. I lived in Chicago before on the south side, so when people mention crime around here, I'm like, this is nothing, guys. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to bring that up, but yeah. So the mission of the organization is to provide and to create basically that housing stability with gently used furniture to people who are in need. And that is something that comes personally to heart for me because of my upbringing, and also because of how things and how people are being treated on a daily basis. A lot of people have a lot of pride, so they're not going to come forward, but that's why we want to do presentations for the community so everybody hears, and at least we can spread the word about the job that is getting done in Colombia. So as an organization, we do serve 6 counties. So we do not serve only Lancaster County, but York, Dauphin, Cumberland, Lebanon, and Berks counties as well. Last year, as an organization, we were fully able to furnish 395 homes, providing basically furniture for over 1,200 people. And like I said, it's not only Lancaster County, it's 6 counties. And how we do this work is that we work with partner agencies, health institutions, school social workers, basically with churches, mosques, synagogues, and Church World Services was one of the biggest organizations that we have been working, and basically Lebanon VA, Volunteers of America, and just to name a few. So we do pick up furniture, but we also have a drop-off option. You can drop off furniture to our warehouse at the old Columbia News Press building. We have our dock area on the back where you can drop off furniture Monday to Friday from 9 to 4 p.m. And we also provide pickup service. And because we do not have a price tag on the furniture, we do basically ask for a suggested financial donation to help cover the costs. You know, we're talking about costs. I heard money everywhere. I'm like, yeah, costs. Things cost every day, especially with inflation going up right now. But obviously, nothing about politics because I run a nonprofit. So yeah, that is basically essentially what we do. We are always looking for furniture donations and obviously also monetary donations. And that's basically all I had to say. And if anybody has questions, I'm more than happy to answer it. To everybody.
We had talked before, and I'm glad you mentioned that you do pick up.
Yes.
But one thing I wanted to ask you, is there anything, how do I want to say it? Are there any items that you will not take?
China cabinets.
Full of teacups.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah, it's.
No, I know that there's some stipulations, like with mattresses and things like that there.
Yeah. So with mattresses, we actually have resolved the problem. We can, we have a very good partnership with somebody in Reading who does recycle mattresses. So even if you have mattresses that are not in usable condition, we do spray and sanitize and clean everything that comes to us. However, if you want to do something like that, we can actually store them on our warehouse in one corner and then have the mattress recycler instead of throwing everything in the landfill. So yeah, we can.
I wanted to ask that because I didn't want to see people going down to your shop and dropping it off, and it's something that you can't use. In other words, you don't want people dropping it off when you're not there, I would think.
No, no, because then we will end up basically just taking it in the warehouse and then we have to throw it at the dump because we cannot use furniture that if it's rained on or anything like that, unfortunately, we can't use it. Because, you know, we want to avoid issues with bed bugs or anything like that. And once furniture is basically in the elements, unfortunately, rodents and everything like that can go into them.
Thank you for helping clarify that.
And I will also add, when he says furniture, most of us are thinking, sofas, all beds, that kind of stuff. But I actually contacted them last year because I had one piece of furniture that I wanted to give to someone. I had a nice oak hall mirror that I had no longer use for. When they came to pick it up, I was like, hey, what do you think about these speaker stands? They're like, oh yeah, well, someone will use those. I'm like, what about this little bookshelf? Oh yeah, we'll take that. I'm like, what about this mirror? Oh yeah, we'll take that too. So
Anything left?
Well, it's a great thing for estates.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with it. Oh, Frank.
So yeah, we actually do pick up almost everything in the house. And I know that there is another organization in the area as well. So if we are not able to take it, I know that off the streets will take some furniture also. And I know that they have been around here for a long time and they've been doing an amazing job. And I actually do know that Dan Sod is a big supporter. And family. Okay, sorry. So it's just like we are doing everything we can for the community because of, like you mentioned, also the guys that work with us. We want to hire and train future professionals. So that's another side of the reason why we do have the suggested financial donation for the pickup service.
yeah, and I gave off the streets my coffee table and end tables too. Dan, your mom picked those up. I don't have a China cabinet.
No, do they take the China cabinet?
I don't know. No,
He
they
said
don't.
no.
No, they don't want
I'm
anything that
saying
big.
off the streets.
Yeah, we'll take sleeper sofas just because we want to use them. Sorry.
Anyway, it's,
Since we don't want to pay gym memberships,
All right, well, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
All right. Action items. Could I have a motion to authorize the bill payments?
Second.
A motion by Councilperson Geezy, second by Councilperson Kaufman to authorize the bill payments. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns? No. With none, I have motion by Councilperson Geezy, second by Councilperson Kaufman to authorize the bill payments. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Next, could I have a motion to approve Kurt Edmond on behalf of the Clifford Edmond Scholarship Fund to host the 20th annual Clifford Edmond Men's Basketball Tournament on Saturday, June 7th and Sunday, June 8th from 8 a.m. to 9:45 p.m. contingent upon receipt of certificate of insurance.
So moved.
I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman and a second by Councilperson Geezy to approve the Clifford Edmond Men's Basketball Tournament.
What was decided about the possibility of the renovations?
Maple Park.
What was decided?
Yeah, we're gonna control that to where the construction won't happen until after this tournament.
Okay,
That'll be part of the bid process.
okay.
Are there any other questions, comments, or concerns? No, then I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Geezy to approve Kurt Edmond Sr. on behalf of the Clifford Edmonds Scholarship Fund to host the 20th Annual Clifford Edmonds Men's Basketball Tournament on Saturday, June 7th and Sunday, June 8th from 8 a.m. to 9:45 p.m., contingent upon receipt of certificate of insurance. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. Next, we have 3 items related to Walnut Street. We'll let Derek give us, and we can ask questions as he goes through, and then we can vote on all, vote on them.
Yeah, we have a couple separate actions tonight, but tonight is pretty well the culmination of the project before we take this thing out to bidding. What I did want to address council with, there were some questions in the past kind of about the project budget. And Sharon, I know you've asked about smart growth grant versus smart growth funding. And I just wanted to give everybody a little bit of a better explanation of how this works. So unlike projects where we're used to receiving grants, we get a letter that says you have received $200,000 for this project. And then we do the project and draw from the $200,000. That's not how this works. It's called funding, not a grant, because this is budgeted money. This is money that the county is budgeting through the Smart Growth Fund to fund the project. Up until this point, we've been doing engineering and of course construction estimating to get it to the point that we put this out to bid. We have an unknown factor of what the bid's going to come in. The other unknown factor on this, although we can estimate it, is what the inspection cost is going to be. I mentioned at a previous meeting that because this is being bid through PennDOT, we have to use a PennDOT certified inspector. That inspector is going to be paid for through this grant money by the county. So that's an additional 10% on top of construction costs. So what I want everyone to understand is while the funding that we currently have allotted is $1.38 million for this project, the estimate right now, construction cost is just under 1.5. That's going to be our final estimate on this with everything all done in PennDOT approvals. You have to factor another $150,000 in inspection cost. That's a 10% estimate for construction cost. So total project cost here with inspection is estimated to be $1.65 million, round numbers, okay? The county MPO is committed to this project. They will vote to allocate additional funds once the project is bid and awarded, okay? And then, of course, as we go through with inspection, that's going to be covered. So notice that I'm not asking for a letter of a funding gap. I'm not asking for any sort of financial commitment from the borough tonight. We are asking for authorization to move this project forward such that it would be funded through this smart grant funding. There will still need to be some voting that happens at the county level to ensure, hey, what if this bid comes in at 2.5 million? Okay, well, time out. We might need to talk about this a little bit more. But if the bid comes in close to where our estimates are, we have every indication that the county will support the effort in moving forward and then allocate the additional funds to pay for construction. Or maybe we don't need additional funds. Maybe it comes in less. Again, I don't want to muddy the water here, but unlike a lot of things that we vote on, we don't have budget line items and this and this and this. This is a little fluid until we get the grant back from PennDOT. We get the construction inspector assigned to this, and we understand what those costs are. Okay? But
So with the vote for tonight, we're not locked in that by a certain date, we have to make this thing happen.
So the date, basically what's going to happen, Barb, is this project is scheduled to be advertised on May 22nd through PennDOT's online system. So we won't be putting an ad in or anything. PennDOT's going to handle that. So once we give the okay and the plans are signed and uploaded, PennDOT will take care of the advertising and the bidding of the project. PennDOT will open the bids to the project, which that's going to happen on June 26th. Once those bids are open, we'll compare the low bid cost to the estimates, and the county MPO will have to evaluate where that comes in at. And again, we hope that it's very close to what our estimates are, and this shouldn't be a problem. If it's grossly high, then we might have to talk a little bit about what happens. But it isn't, if the bid's open and the county says, whoa, way too much money, we've got to reevaluate this, then we will pause, potentially redesign and rebid. But that's worst case scenario in my mind.
Okay. Do you have any kind of estimate of borough cost at this point?
The borough cost has already been paid. It's all the engineering.
Yeah,
Okay.
the borough has paid the engineering fees to get us to this point.
Okay. And just if it goes higher than what we're expecting, that would be borough cost?
No.
No.
No,
No.
okay.
No.
Okay.
Yes, if there's redesign and rebidding, then you might have some additional costs from C.S. Davidson and our consultants to redesign the plan. But our indications from the county and the MPO are they will support this project if the scope and the cost remain consistent with what we've been estimating.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, Barb, the county MPO has looked very favorably on projects that have already been committed. Just about every one of them that's been committed over the last couple of years has run into significant cost overruns, higher than expected. I mean, just to give everyone an idea of how significant the cost increases are, when this project was initially estimated, construction was estimated at $865,000. So we're at double what it was just a couple of years ago. And the Lancaster MPO is committed to the projects that we've committed funds to, seeing them through and not shortchanging them. So we've done a lot of tip updates to fully fund those projects.
Okay.
I do want to give a slight disclaimer that the original estimate was done in 2019 prior to the pandemic.
Exactly.
So
that's what I'm saying.
It was more than a couple years ago.
Oh, it was more than a couple years ago.
Give me a little.
Yeah,
give me a
that's
little. Yeah.
So, yes, Frank.
Is it safe to say this won't start till fall?
That's accurate, Frank. Yep. PennDOT has so once the bids are open in June, assuming the project is awarded to that low bidder, there's a 90-day period for PennDOT to go through contracts. So we are targeting late September at the earliest that this project would start. So we would see, at best case scenario, you would see construction, you'd see concrete, you'd see the lighting go in the fall into the early winter. The project would likely shut down, and then they'll come back in the spring and finish all the street work is what we'll see. There is a possibility that the project could be delayed completely till 2026, depending upon how long the contract window takes and whoever the contract low bidder is. We've got to get to September and look at what kind of winter outlook we're looking at this year.
Yeah.
If we know that we can work comfortably in the late November, December, then I think you'll see a lot of work out there. If it's looking like a cold early winter, then maybe you won't see much action at all this year. But that bidding window was dictated to us by the project consultant and organizer, so we didn't have much say in that. Yep. Okay.
Are there any other questions, or comments on this project and what we're going to be voting on? All right, so we have the three items. The first, do I have a motion to authorize approval of the PennDOT inspection agreement for the Walnut Street Streetscape project?
Second.
A motion by Councilperson Stahl, second by Councilperson Kaufman, to authorize approval of the PennDOT inspection agreement for the Walnut Street Streetscape project. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Next, could I have a motion to authorize the borough manager to sign the plans for the Walnut Street Streetscape project?
So moved.
Second.
The motion by Councilperson Stahl, second by Councilperson Geezy, to authorize the borough manager to sign the plans for the Walnut Street Streetscape project. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? And next, could I have a motion to authorize bidding of the Walnut Street streetscape project on the PennDOT ECMS system?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilperson Stahl, second by Councilperson Kaufman, to authorize bidding of the Walnut Street streetscape project on the PennDOT ECMS system. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. New business. We're asked to consider approval for Susquehanna National Heritage Association in conjunction with Sod Salvage and the Columbia Shade Tree Commission to host Go Green Columbia at the Columbia River Park on Friday, April 25th from 4:30 to 7:30. Are there any questions? This is going to be in conjunction with the Arbor Day celebration and all that fun stuff. Questions, comments? Does anyone have a problem voting on it tonight?
No.
I can't wait.
I know, right?
There's been a great job out there.
So
Salvage yard.
do I have a motion to approve the Susquehanna National Heritage Association in conjunction with Sod Salvage and the Columbia Shade Tree Commission to host Go Green Columbia at the Columbia River Park on Friday, August 25th from 4:30 to 7:30 p.m.?
Second.
A motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Geezy to approve the Go Green Columbia at the Columbia River Park on April 25th. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed?
Dan, how much of the, I'll say the parking, the boats, the boat trailers, how much of that area do you expect? I think you're going to have food trucks now, aren't you?
A couple, we're gonna have.
And some exhibitors?
Yes, there's 30 exhibitors. First 300 registrations get a free Rocky barbecue dinner. So, and then there's gonna be coffee and cream there free.
I don't think we anticipate overflowing into the trailer parking much. Most of the vendors will be able to be on the lawn.
Okay.
Yep, and then the food trucks, if there are any, will be in the overflow parking there, those grassy spots next to the lot.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a map in the packet.
Okay. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll be similar to the Expo we had at Riverfest, that setup.
Yeah. We'll try to, we can get some signs out, try to show people parking on Walnut Bridge there and Commerce Street, Borough Lodge.
And we're trying to tie in Fourth Friday, the cleanup day, put it all together. The Swan's gonna help us. So we'll coordinate more to see how we can make that a bigger thing. We're just trying to make it one big day for the town.
Yeah, maybe we can just get some.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty
Maybe we can
concept.
just get some signs made, just say parking in there or something, just get different spots.
And we can park vendors in that meadow beyond the bridge on the other side.
Provided it hasn't rained recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We could even put some people up there too.
Yeah, I think there were some spots that had asphalt.
Yeah, we'll coordinate, how much you're going to use.
Just like to thank the three organizations for working together to make this into something. I think it's really gonna be pretty cool.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right, next, we're asked to consider approval for the Columbia United Veterans Organization to host the annual Memorial Day Parade. Does anyone have any questions on this?
No.
Does anyone have a problem voting on this tonight?
Nope.
Could I have a motion to approve the Columbia United Veterans Organization to host the annual Columbia Memorial Day Parade using the traditional parade route on Sunday, Sunday, May 25th, beginning at 1 p.m., contingent on the receipt of the required certificate of insurance and PennDOT approval?
So moved.
Motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Brigard, to approve the Columbia United Veterans Organization to host the annual Columbia Memorial Day Parade. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed?
And just note that the estimated costs for our, public works and police have been included in the packet for
Yes.
those that are interested.
Yep.
Thanks for including that.
Yes, thank you. All right, next, we're asked to consider approval to purchase 6 Toughbook laptops for the police vehicles at a cost of $26,294.76. These are ones that we actually had this in the capital budget with an estimate of $10,000. So the actual estimate came in from Citium at just over $26,000. So we would be over encumbering that line item. However, there was also an item in the capital budget for the mobile radios for $10,000 as well. So if we commit to not purchasing those this year, we get closer to the 26,000 that this line is costing.
Madam President, may I?
Yep.
Just an explanation. What we looked to do was take the cost of this over 3 years. So we had budgeted 10,000 for the next 3 years. The problem is Microsoft decided that they were not going to support Windows 10 after November of this year, which is what these computers are actually running on currently, and we cannot upgrade them. The computers are 7 years old. So these are the laptops that are in the cruisers that the officers use. They receive information from county radio. They do accident reports in the car on scene. They check status of individuals, driving status, warrant status, that sort of thing. So it's important technology for them.
Does it work for you, Chief, to wait for the radios?
Yes.
And include that 10,000
Yes.
into that 20,000?
Yes. In talking to Borough Manager Caulfield, we were going to hold off on getting the radios.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, our hands being forced by county radio by the beginning of 27, we need to replace those radios in the car. So it will be a discussion we'll need to have, regarding the budget for 26. Yes.
I wonder, are there any grants or monies available from Microsoft? Since there's, I don't know, crazy thought, since the upgrades on their operating system no longer is effective with our current systems, I wonder if there's some kind of help.
I'm not aware of any. I think it'd be worth exploring. We could certainly look into it.
I might add, the reason so quickly as far as like right now this month is because there's a 5% increase that's going on with the Panasonic at the end of this month. So I did get 2 other estimates.
Good, I was going to ask that too.
They're right in line with that. As a matter of fact, the one was a little bit, quite a bit above, but the other. So we try to think all those factors in. If we wait another month to try to see if we could get a grant or something like that, we'll definitely lose the 5%, which does in this case amount to a decent amount of money.
Okay. I'll look into it as well. Microsoft.
My thought is, and probably everybody will disagree with me, is do what we can with 20,000. Since that's what was budgeted, and I don't know, maybe that would only be 5 laptops instead of 6. I don't know.
So actually, in this case, there was only 10,000 that was budgeted for this. The other 20,000 came from the radios.
Yes.
Okay. Again, if we only do, we're only going to be able to use a partial come the end of the year. Say we replace 3 now, the other 3 are obsolete. So unfortunately, Microsoft kind of forced our hand that we have to do this year. Otherwise, we're not going to have the equipment that we need in the police cruiser.
Now, who's the Microsoft CEO? What's his name again?
You can call him if you'd like.
I'll be happy to.
I will wait for that response.
I think to her point, right? I appreciate what she's saying. Are there any vehicles that perhaps don't need a laptop? Would one less be mission critical?
That's bare bones. We have 6 patrol vehicles, so we're requiring laptops for each.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Well, then I think we need to look at all the budgets and see where we can take this 6,000 instead of just adding 6,000. You know what I mean? Like, who are we gonna,
We're actually covered. We're looking to utilize the 20,000.
Oh, was the radios 20?
The radius was
Oh,
20, so we're
Yeah.
completely
I thought they
covered.
were 10 also.
No, we
oh, the
wouldn't-
radios were 20.
That's
So
right.
you would
Okay.
break even.
10 and 20 is
We would
30.
break even. Yeah, there would be
There's no increase.
$4,000 or
See
something
why
left
we
in the
discussed
radio.
this?
I would also note
Thank
that
you.
the chief said they budgeted 10,000 each for the next
Yeah.
2 years. So
3
if you
years.
have them now, that's
Yeah.
10,000 each. The next 2 years, you're not going to need the budget. So
I never did
Put
well
that
in
back.
math, chief, so.
I have issues too.
Any other questions? Does anyone have a problem voting on this one tonight?
I have a question.
Mhm.
5% is not a lot of money. Is it worthwhile to go out and look for a grant?
What I'll say is that if you start looking for a grant now, it's very likely you will not have money prior to Windows 10 being unsupported. Right? Or, I mean, the turnaround time on these grants is not always fast. That will be my concern there. You might not get that money in time to where those laptops become unsupported in November.
Okay.
So what we
And I don't
need,
know if I mentioned, these are 7 years old laptops.
I totally don't disagree, they
Yeah.
should be replaced.
Yeah.
But then in 5 years from now, we should be looking for grants
yes. hmm
and preparing for this.
Right, project what you're gonna need, like 5 years from now, and we'll start researching grants today.
It kind of was like a second sort of thing, right? The laptops would be fine if it wasn't for the Microsoft decision not to support Windows 10. And that was kind of a recent discovery, correct?
Yes,
It wasn't something you
we were
really.
looking to take this out over 3 years. That's
Right,
correct, to minimize the impact
understand.
on the borough. Right.
Yes?
Sorry, I know it's not really time.
Come up to the microphone, please.
Robin Porter. I'm just throwing it out there as an idea because I get that like the Microsoft thing, like not controllable. What can you do? But what if you put it out to the citizens, like just general, maybe not in this format, but like a GoFundMe? That, I mean, you could vote on it and then, because I do think despite tax raise and whatever, people are going to want to support the police and what they need.
Mhm.
That, if it's specifically for that purpose, I think you should definitely be able to fill some of the gap.
It's a wild and crazy idea, and I like
Yeah,
it.
I like the idea too. Yeah, especially people who have been benefited so much from police help in their communities. They might appreciate the opportunity.
We have an active fundraiser now for drone technology, for our drone team. So we have both the Lions Club and a local business, the cigar outfit across the street here, who is engaging in fundraising for us.
Mhm. Yeah. Thank you for that.
What's your name?
Can you give us your name, please?
Robin.
Porter.
Yeah.
Thank you. Are you her mother? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Because only a mother would say that. A Robin with a Y.
All right, moving on. Does anyone have a problem voting on this one tonight?
Well, that is something a mother would say. Spell my daughter's name right.
Anyone have a problem voting? Would anybody like to make a motion to approve to purchase 6 Toughbook laptops for police vehicles at a cost of $26,294.76?
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Councilperson Murphy, second by Councilperson Brigard to approve purchasing 6 Toughbook laptops for the police vehicles. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, next, we're asked to consider putting the bid packet out for the 800 block of Chestnut Street project. Questions, comments?
Is this a DCD grant?
No.
There is currently no grant money allocated for this project. We had talked previously about allocating the additional $70,000 of funding we have left over from savings on the riverfront storm sewer lining project to this. I had advised council that I spoke with DCED and received some positive feedback. I have to tell you that I spoke again with DCED about a month ago, and I did not receive positive feedback. So DCED has been in the news here lately with the Auditor General, so I have to believe that they're tightening their criteria. So the concern that DCED had is they can't just shift money from the riverfront project to Chestnut Street because the projects aren't related. I can still try, and I still will try, but my request this evening for authorization of this project, it would have to be fully borough funded if you decide to proceed with it this evening.
Questions, comments?
Well, I personally think this has to wait.
I'll just,
If you live there.
I'll just say, this project has been on our plate for a long time as a borough.
Push back
It's been pushed back, but not only that, it's really at or near the top of the list in terms of a street that needs to be rebuilt and new curbs. And it's one of those things that we have to keep on investing in our streets, our curbs, our gutters, our stormwater, and it is an incredible cost. And those costs don't go down. And so in just the processing of this project over the years, and you can comment on this, Derek, if you'd like, but the costs have been a moving target. And so every year it gets more expensive. Kicking it down the road only does so much. It's one of those things that, in my view, needs to be, we just have to bite the bullet and take care of it. Yeah.
Jake, is there anything that can be done in the interim?
Avoid that block.
You could put a Band-Aid on it, it should buy a year.
That's probably one of the worst ones in the street, in the town.
So if I may, we had a pretty in-depth discussion about this at the Public Works Department today. And, we're not exactly sure what the cost is going to come in at. And that would be a good thing, I think, to have at this point where we're at in this. At this point, you would just be authorizing us to put it out the bid, not authorizing us to accept the bid. That would have to come back to council again. So just a thought, this gives us an opportunity to at least see where the bids are at.
Any other comments? Hold on, Frank. I have some thoughts. I called Derek yesterday to tell him I was going to say this because I didn't want him to be blindsided. But I can't, in good conscience, approve to put this out for bid. And this is why. I understand the value in planning to have things happen at different points in time so that we have projects going. We're at a point now where we have so many projects stacked up that aren't moving. And this is just one more that would get added on there. We have an issue with staff bandwidth. And it's not fair to continue to pile things on. We're at a point with our capital fund, which is where this money would come from, that every project is contingent upon something else, something being sold, or something else happening, and none of those things are happening. So we have McGinnis that we really want to get going, and that's and not saying that any of the projects won't have a benefit. They all have benefit and they all have value, but we have certain, we want that to bolster our tax base and everything. We want to get our public works building moved up so that we can fully realize all of the money from the sale of the sewer plant. Well, we're going to need money up there. So that, and we're talking about getting that moving with there's something on here about that tonight, the recording the subdivision. We want to keep that going. And again, I go back to staff bandwidth. 4 years ago, I can remember 5 years ago when I was running for council, sitting out there and thinking, it's no wonder the borough manager is leaving and staff is being burned out, because there are so many projects and so many moving parts. And yet I've sat here and I've allowed it to continue. And I think it's time to say no. We're not going to allow it to continue. I mean, I get it. Derek directly benefits by his constant professional development, doing all of these projects. But at some point, we have to say, wait a minute, we have to get things finished. And we are not getting anything finished because of Norfolk Southern, because we're tied into a lease of the firehouse, because of these different things. Something else I found out this week, and I have to apologize, because I have sat up here and I have repeatedly said, all we're waiting on for the RACP is the money. We're just waiting for them to give us the check. I found out this week that that's not the case. There are still items that we need to put in to get that money. So last year, when we thought our clock had started for that year to get that money, we were just figuring it was going to come in the next couple of months. That 1 year clock hasn't even started yet, because we still have things we have to fulfill to get that money. So I can't, in good conscience, vote to put something else out to bid when we have so many other irons in the fire that are not getting done. I'm sorry.
I agree. And if we were to vote on this tonight, I would vote no as well.
I would just like to say a couple of things related to that. I think, part of the aspect of lessening the workload on staff is on the front side of a project. And so in this regards, I mean, a lot of the work done was contracted services, right? So we approved that pursuing this project a long time. It's been in the works for a long time now. And so part of this council's responsibility in terms of taking on fewer projects, I think you could argue one way or the other on this one, because the bulk of the work has been done. It's been on the list year after year now. It's fully engineered. It's ready to bid. And we, at this point, it is a very expensive project, but we do have money that can come from liquid fuels that we've saved up year after year that can go towards this, about 100,000. It would not all be a burden on the capital fund. But I think that your point brings up an important question, and that is we need to, as a council, take stock of all of our projects and take stock of our capital fund budget and what is restricted, what's there, what's locked up, what's not even in there but is allocated to be in there. But my recommendation at this point is to move forward with putting this out to bid, to keep the project rolling and to get it off of our plate. Because once it's out to bid, once it is completed, of course, it will be off of our plate for good. It'll be checked off the list and won't just be another project sitting, waiting, being kicked down the road, needing to be brought back up and rehashed, re-estimated, all the work that we put into it. You know, there is a cost to advertising, but there's also cost to setting something on the shelf. And at this point, you could, you know, either way, to do nothing is costing us money.
And I understand that. However, I do not agree that putting it out to bid gets it off our plate, because that gets the ball rolling, and then it gets on Jake's plate, which is already overtaxed because we're short-staffed. It puts it on finance's plate because, yes, we use liquid fuels, but those liquid fuel reports that you've done take an awful lot of time. And when you don't know how to do it, like Michelle's still learning all of that stuff, it takes even longer. Her and I worked on that one report. It was probably like 8 hours, and we still didn't get it all done because we were trying to track down and learn where these different things are. So yes, it might be off of our plates, but it's not off of their plates. And the more we put on their plates, the worse it gets. And yes, I understand that waiting, I mean, we saw 6 years double the cost of Walnut Street. But that's not a reason to rush into just one more thing that is going to get stuck in the bottleneck. I want to see some other things finished before we start something else.
You brought up a good point. Why? Money. But another good point, which is staff bandwidth. The managers are here. Staff, is this tax your bandwidth? Is this project too much for you? Is this something that is going to upset the apple cart?
They're going to sit there and they're going to say no, because that's what they want you to, that's what they think we want to hear.
That's not what I want to hear.
They will say, this one
I gotta hear from them. Jake, you're a busy guy. I know you're short staffed. Is this project out of scope this year? To be honest, it is.
Jake is not taking vacation in how many years, Jake? Because he doesn't feel he can. Because we keep putting so much stuff on.
So if we don't do this project, will you take a vacation? I promise. There you go. Check that box. Michelle, I know you're, be honest, you think that that's basically a project added to your plate that was upset your apple cart?
I know one more project that's not gonna do anything. I keep chugging along and my fingers and sense.
Steve?
All the projects, this is the easiest one to continue on.
You know, you talk about projects, and I gotta say, most of the projects have been around for a long time. You know, and they've moved it along, and I understand where we're at on every one of them and what we have. But I look at this project, I don't look at it as a project. This is a street job. This is a benefit to the citizens. Yes, putting a new, excuse me, Jake, but Public Works building up there and doing some of that kind of stuff, that's going to benefit the borough, but that's not going to benefit the residents on the street, on their streets. I think that's one of the things that we have to have priorities on doing the street. I think you need to put it out to bid, see where it's at, and figure out, can you do it or not? We're betting about trying to get the wastewater treatment plant sold, and I've been working with that with our senator and our congressman. Trying to move that. I understand that. And some of the other things, I understand all that. But you're talking about a street that directly benefits the residents of this community, and I don't think you can turn your back on it.
I would say I would vote to get the bids. I think that's a responsible next step. But I would say when it comes time to vote on doing the project, I would recuse myself because I live on the 800 block of Walnut Street, and I do not want it to be assumed that there's some kind of backroom deal going on, as is often so suggested. So I will recuse myself from that.
Yeah. I did the same thing when they did the 800 block of Walnut back in, I don't know when Jake can tell you, but, I could just say, two things I wanted to ask Derek a question.
Oh, I'm sorry,
First thing
Chestnut.
is, that road has deteriorated exponentially every year it's left to go. I mean, that road is, I won't even drive on it. I mean, just 1 block over the wall and just go around it. But for the people that live there, that are putting their taxes in and had this project put off, many years now, they're going to sit back and say, hey, what about us, kind of thing. And Derek, the work that's been done already, like the engineering, et cetera, is, when was that done initially? And, is that when's the drop dead period for when that it's invalid,
I don't, if you shelved this project right now, it isn't, I think you could shelf it and pick it back up in 2 years and everything we did is still valid. There aren't any permits on this project. There isn't any, again, we didn't have to go through any sort of state or federal review. There's no grant money on this. The other thing I'll add, again, just to remind everybody, some of the history on this is this project started as just a mill and overlay kind of between two very steep gutters. And this project evolved into the catalyst for our large and lengthy curb and sidewalk ordinance debate, which led to the project scope expanding to the replacement of all the curbs on both sides of that street. And of course, the replacement of curbs is dictating the complete rebuild of the street because of the steepness of the gutters and the height of the existing crown. From an engineering standpoint, you've heard me preach previously about stretching your dollars by doing street maintenance. And the way that you stretch your dollars is by catching streets before they degrade to another level. It's catching those streets that could use a mill and overlay before they open up too much and create potholes. I'm not going to sway your decision one way or another, but one thing I can tell you is this street is due to be rebuilt. So if there are any concerns about additional cost on the project, inflation is a concern, but the proposed application that we're talking about, rebuilding the street, is still valid if you shelf this. If we were proposing a mill and overlay, I would say, hey, another year or two of deterioration, you're going to have additional base repair. You could have significant base repair that could push this to a reconstruct. And we're already at that point of this whole street needs to be dug up and fixed because geometrically it doesn't work. And then additionally, the surface is an issue.
Yeah, mill and overlay won't work on that street.
Right.
So you're saying that we can't just mill and overlay it for right now?
Well, you shouldn't. Not if you're going to replace the curbs.
I'm saying without replacing the curbs.
What's that?
Without replacing the curbs.
Without replacing the curbs, you can mill it and overlay it and put back exactly what you have there right now, which is not good.
It's going to be better than potholes you're going through.
It would be better than potholes. However, the issue that you have on that street is the plateau in the center of it.
Yeah.
You have very steep.
Oh,
you have-
I'm well aware of it.
Well, the issue is because you have a plateaued street, it doesn't drain properly. So the water lays on it and that's going to degrade it. So can you mill and overlay it? Absolutely. How long is that mill and overlay going to last? Not the target 15 to 20
No,
years.
no, I get that. I get that.
So,
But if you're saying this year grants aren't available or hard to get, and the capital fund's low right now, if we can just mill and overlay, at least the street becomes drivable.
There are properties there too, because of that steep, that when you get significant downpours for a length amount of time, they're getting water rushing onto their property that should be not on their
I
property.
mean, some of the
Hold on a second.
significant.
Hold on a second. I understand that. That's not the borough's fault though.
No, I'm just saying, that's one of the things you have to look at.
So some of the additional costs that we have on this was working in the ADA compliant ramps.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, that led us to the storm sewer issue that we have on the corner of 8th and Chestnut.
Which is a bigger sidewalk.
What's that?
The sidewalk wraps around now and stuff.
Well, correct. That's why there's a bump out there because we need to get an ADA compliant ramp, but I also need to install the storm sewer infrastructure to get the water around it. Okay? We wouldn't necessarily need to do the bump out, and we talked about this.
Yeah,
You
I'm
can
well
take
aware of it.
yeah, you can take the trees down and try to put something a little bit more traditional in. It's actually cheaper in the long run to leave the trees and do the bump out. And then that gives us a spot to install our storm sewer to get the water out the corner. I think you'd still need to install, if you want to do it right, at least somewhat right, you would still need to do your bump out, your ADA ramps, and install your storm sewer. You could do a mill and overlay in between basically the gutters, and then you're not replacing your curb. So your cost when you start looking at reconstruction of the street versus mill and overlay, it's a small percentage. There's savings. I'm not going to deny you that, but I think you're probably upwards of somewhere between I hate to say without the numbers in my head, probably between 250 and 300 to do it to put new curb in and not rebuild the street. Maybe over 300. I would strongly recommend if you're going to invest that much money, you invest a little bit more and do it right.
So hold on a second. I'm confused.
Sure.
Because you went to curbs now.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, the street's horrible.
Yes.
It's been on the list for 7 years, 5 years. What I'm saying is this proposal is curbs, some sidewalk.
Very little sidewalk.
I understand.
Yeah, ADA ramps,
The ADA
not
ramp
sidewalk.
stuff, and complete rebuild of the street.
Mhm.
That's the full proposal. And I'm not saying the street doesn't deserve that or need it. What I'm saying is, what if we just mill and overlaid the street temporarily for like a year?
And not did the curbs.
Not did anything.
You would be in violation of the curb and sidewalk ordinance that you passed. That's what led us here. That's why I don't want anybody to think
No,
this
we
is.
can,
yeah.
we can just do a mill and overlay without doing the curbs because we're not rebuilding it. The ordinance we passed was if we're rebuilding the street, that's when we're doing the curbs and sidewalks.
You rarely rebuild streets in this borough.
Well, right, I know, but
That's
all
what
of
they have
those
to plan.
ones that the borough crews are paving, we're not doing curbs and sidewalks there.
Correct.
That's because the curbs are in
Curbs are already in
good enough
So,
condition. But this is one of the streets, the
All right.
top of the list that merits a rebuild.
I get it. You got
And
everything
that's-
from brick to low curb, to
Yep.
angled curb, to high curb. You have everything on that street.
Yep.
So
Right.
Trees.
It
You
need-
mill and overlay, you
Storm
throw your money-
stormwater drainage issues.
Well, I don't know that.
I think you'll throw your money away if you mill and overlay.
Jake, what's it cost?
That's what I was gonna ask.
Roughly. I mean, I'm not gonna hold you
Let's
anything.
throw the middle thing out.
All right.
Okay? We're
Just
gonna
overlay
put,
it.
I'm gonna put 11 course, scratch course, whatever you wanna
Yep.
call it. It's Band-Aid.
Yes.
To a year or so. Similar to what we did on Walnut Street a few years back because of the utility work.
Right, they messed it up
And
and do it over. Yeah, usually I had to redo
That's
it.
what we could do, I don't know. 15, 20 tons, so you're looking at maybe $4,000 or $5,000 for us for the materials. It's a Band-Aid.
I totally accept
It's not
that.
gonna be perfect, it'll be a lot better than what it is now.
And that can come completely from liquid fuels.
I mean, I want this project done right. And I drive that street every day, constantly, 2, 3, 4 times a day, at least. But I have to agree with Heather here. I just don't see us putting that money towards that right now.
If you're gonna,
Decision, guys.
if you're not gonna rebuild the street, and I'll back up a little bit. If you're not gonna rebuild the street, totally rebuild the street, which I think you should do. Listening to Jake and his numbers, buy a little bit of time, I think that's good.
I do too.
I agree.
I was looking at $20,000-$30,000.
Right,
If
but
you're talking a couple $1,000s, that's a good deal.
I think he was talking about 100,
who?
Jake. How much did you say it would be?
$2,000.
Oh, okay.
Thinking 15 or 20 tons of blacktop.
Okay.
So
Like that Band-Aid.
I mean, I'm just, I'd have no problem like saying, hey, 2 years from now, we're gonna do this. And we'll start putting money aside right now, starting today.
Yeah.
But, and I say this with the understanding that this project's been on the list for I don't know how long. And it's a shame on us, Foresight, for not putting money aside for a project like this. But I will say this, I kind of did assume this was going to be a grant job. Not,
There's no, I mean, that section of town does not qualify
done
for
it?
community
It does.
block
It
grants
does.
It does actually.
It does.
right now.
Yeah,
Is it-
with the new, they did revise the maps. It's right on the border, 9th Street's the border. So this block is in. We didn't actually get based on how many projects we had, we went a half an hour over on our 2-hour meeting today, so we didn't get to talk about this one. But,
Yeah.
you do have an action later to talk about CDBG funding for this year. This is something you could target. I will give you feedback that I've received from Lancaster County in that they were not a big fan of the 900,000 block of Walnut Street project that they funded. We have traditionally been #1 scored application on everything we submit. That application, we did get funded, but we did not score well. And it was because it did not have the same kind of transformative, it didn't have the neighborhood transformative feel that a lot of our downtown curb and sidewalk projects did. We're taking a neighborhood and we're beautifying it, but we're not transforming it. And my concern is from the feedback I received on the 900 to 1,000, this project is in a similar vein. This project would clean up the street and would potentially replace some sidewalks in addition to that aren't currently in the scope. But applying CDBG grant money on this block would not necessarily, catapult redevelopment or significantly increase property values. And those are some of the things that you've seen on other blocks where we've done CDBG.
but let me ask you this.
Sure.
So just going off of your estimate you have right here, if are you saying I'm not expecting you, even if you didn't apply for the full amount, you applied for a quarter of it, or you're saying they wouldn't want anything to do with this project?
I am not saying that this project wouldn't get funded. I'm saying this project won't score as highly as looking at a project similar to the 300 block of Union, if that's something you want to proceed with.
Well, I only have so many 300 blocks of Union Street.
I understand. So, look, it's if we want to try for CDBG funding in 2025 for this, we absolutely can apply. But I am normally confident when I recommend a block for you to go after this funding. And I will just tell you, I hope if we do it, I would hope to be pleasantly surprised, but it's not one that I feel as strongly about as some of the other projects we've done.
I do not feel that this one would get, just reading the findings before and talking to Justin Eby and everything, I do not feel.
I've done enough of them. Pictures you present.
They're gonna say, no way.
So
I'm not in favor of risking a year when we could fund another project
Yep.
in some of our most needed areas. Doesn't make sense to me. Honestly, I think if we just put a Band-Aid on it, it's not gonna go 1 year, it's gonna go 5 years.
Make part of your motion.
And then the project's gonna be 800,000. To me, it's a moving target. Costs are it's always gonna be a painful ask. And I understand we have a lot of projects going on, but I feel we aren't losing much to get this bid out, and we can evaluate it further then. That doesn't force us to go through with it. You know, if it comes in over, you know, I don't want to, this is an expensive project. So if it comes in over, you know, maybe we got our answer. But if it comes in under, then we can think about it.
I mean, the other thing I think about is last year during the budget cycle, we didn't have a finance manager. So I just kind of threw the budget together as best I could. I don't even really have an estimate right now on what's in the capital budget or what's in the capital account. How much is available?
Right.
And I don't want to see us putting ourselves in a bad situation, waiting for things to be sold to get projects going because we jumped into one more thing that we can't finish.
I just think I know what you're saying about jumping into another project, but you don't have to. If this needed engineering and all that other stuff, I wouldn't even talk about it, but that's already done. All you're looking is to get, you know, some bids on it and see what it is. So that would definitely help us, you know, with even if you don't do it this year, it'll certainly help us with budgeting for next year. So you have a more reasonable number you can rely on instead of taking a dart and throwing the board and say, that's pretty close.
For me, the bid would have to come in significantly under 410 to approve it.
Here's the thing, if we don't bid this out, we're definitely not going to get the $70,000 left over from the DCED grant for the stormwater, I don't think. If that gets pushed off, I mean, it doesn't sound like it's promising anyways, but if we have,
I wouldn't factor on it.
if we have it, if we put it out for bid and, you know, maybe there's a chance. I don't know if we could find that out possibly before we'd award a bid.
It would be tough. I need if we could close out the riverfront project, that's what I need to make that application. So.
And what does that take?
That takes getting a canceled check to the DCED.
Does that
so
take,
that they can get us reimbursed for the money we spent.
sounds simple enough.
So the vote is to advertise.
All right, did anyone want to make a motion to authorize the bidding?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Brigard and a second by Councilperson Stahl to authorize the bid packet advertisement for the 800 block of Walnut Street project. Any further questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, I have a motion by Councilperson Brigard, second by Councilperson Stahl to authorize the bid packet advertisement for the 800 block of Chestnut Street project. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
No.
It's 4-3.
4-3.
4-3, no.
4-3, yes.
4-3, yes. All right,
Wanted to comment on that.
yes.
Heather, I'm glad you had me wait because I wanted to hear all of it, but it all goes back to your opening statement. You know, we don't have that money right now. We can do that later on. The longer you wait, the more it's going to cost. I understand that. And I'm like Eric, I travel that street every day and I know it's not the best street in town. But I have another question before I want to talk more about that. The one grant that you said, I guess it's a Market House grant that we never got because the right paperwork wasn't turned in. Who do we hold accountable for that? Somebody's got to be responsible.
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, that was on the borough manager and the finance manager at the time.
But I still think the way to go is let Jake up there and put an overlay on it. And sure, it's not going to be the best, but, and I thought Todd wasn't going to vote on this.
He said he's not voting on the project, and he didn't say he wasn't gonna vote on the bidding.
Okay.
You say you want to vote on it.
But I liked your opening statement.
All right, next we have the public security for the Rivertown Summit project. This is the Habitat project on North 4th Street. Does anyone have any questions on this? Any concerns voting on this one this evening? Do I have a motion to establish the public security amount for Rivertown Summit project in the amount of $156,926?
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Geezy, to establish public security amount for Rivertown Summit project in the amount of $156,926. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Next, we have the subdivision plan for the Ridge Avenue property that we are asked to consider authorizing that to be recorded. Basically, this is where it takes the big parcel that we purchased, breaks it down into the parcel we would keep and the parcel that will be sold, and it also incorporates the part we will purchase from the Mr. Funk for the road to access the property.
And if I saw correct, it also includes an easement to the other piece of property.
Yes.
To sell it.
Correct. The borough will retain ownership of the access that'll be tied to what we're considering Lot 1, our Public Works lot, and then an easement will be granted to Lot 2 to use that. You can see the little panhandle that comes out from Lot 2. Lot 2 would own that panhandle basically to the borough's access road.
So as soon as that's done, we need to hang the shingle.
Yep. Exactly. Questions, comments? Anyone have a problem voting on this one tonight? Do I have a motion to authorize the signature and recording of the Ridge Avenue property subdivision plan?
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stahl, to authorize the signature and recording of the Ridge Avenue property subdivision plan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Next, we're asked to authorize submission of a letter of intent for 2025 CDBG funding for the 300 block of Union Street. Questions, comments? Anyone have a problem voting?
No.
Do I have a motion to authorize the submission of a letter of intent for the 2025 CDBG funding for the 300 block of Union Street?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Stahl, second by Councilperson Kaufman, to authorize the submission of letter of intent for the 2025 CDBG funding for 300 block of Union Street. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Next, we're asked to consider authorizing staff to attempt to hire part-time administrative assistants.
I would just like to say here that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that this is in anticipation of one of our admins retiring in the near future.
Well, not just that. I mean, we
Okay.
haven't been it hasn't been told to us that this person's gonna retire.
The possibility.
But we are definitely short-staffed. So this is a good time to have some cross-training in here to help us with the short-staff portion of this. We wanted to go temporary because we really need to make sure we get the right person before we go full-time.
Mhm.
So we're anticipating going full-time at some point, but we want to start with the temporary.
Makes a lot of sense.
Where would this person mainly be working or focused on? Or is it not anything?
It has not been announced yet.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. I just wanted to know.
No,
what they were
no,
gonna-
that's okay. I mean, it's an administrative assistant, so
Right,
we
right.
can move it around, but we need to find the right person, the right personality, and see where we need to go with that.
Okay. I just asked if this person was gonna work in like a specific area. Like, are they going to codes or zoning, what they were gonna do? That's okay, sorry.
I want to point out for council, just clarification. Under the fiscal impact analysis, while we do have the recommended source of funds, which is the line item 402-140, and it looks like there would still be a balance. That's the current balance. The amount that's proposed, 27,928, would be on top of everything we have budgeted for this year. It's not like we have extra money. It's an additional expenditure. One thing I didn't see here, how many hours a week is this slated to be?
20 hours a week.
20 hours a week. I'm sorry?
What rate?
At what rate?
It's the standard admin rate, plus the fee that's on top for going through the temp agency.
And how much is that?
Well, do you have those numbers? Trying to dig through the packet. I think this is what we figured on.
Well, it wasn't in the packet, so
Oh, it was?
no, it's not in there. What is
What is
the,
it cost?
what's the hourly
For the
cost?
$34.91.
So that includes the fee to the agency, correct?
Yes.
So you're saying that this balance that I'm looking at is, nothing's been budgeted for that 24,
No, the 27.
100,
No, the
27?
the amount of the $52,039 is the amount that's budgeted for the staff that we have.
Yes,
So this 27,000,
is not,
it is above and beyond.
okay.
That is not correct, I don't believe. The budgeted item that you have, that was actually put into that line item there is an administrative assistant position that was budgeted yet not filled. So it was.
I don't think so, because when I did the budget, there was one admin is in the administrative section.
Do you have the budget right there?
No, I don't. There's one in the admin section, one in codes, and one in highway. That's a different title.
Is that bookkeeper?
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
bookkeeper.
No?
There's a line item in the budget for the accountant, which is
also known as the bookkeeper.
Yeah,
And there's still a line item there for an admin assistant.
yeah, because
In
that's,
finance.
but that's all in the admin section, the very top one. And that one is what would have been Teresa, what is now Tiffany.
I think she is under borough manager, which would have been.
Yeah, it doesn't break it down. It just has,
That's just for.
1402, 141.
it just has
Or no,
clerical salary,
140.
accountant and clerical salary. And
Yeah.
that's the 52.
Yep, and that would have been Tiffany. Yep, that would have been Tiffany Toomey. And then the public safety, there's one there, and that's Pam. Code compliance
Who's that?
is
So that's
Tiffany.
three, right?
Oh, the other
Is
Tiffany.
the other
That's three.
Tiffany,
And then Public Works.
and then Public Works
is 4.
is 4.
Mhm.
And then the accountant,
Yeah, the accountant
Is Laurie.
Tiffany.
Right.
And then Tiffany is the clerical.
yep. But yeah, that's what they are.
So, yeah, so under the finance manager, there's an accountant and a clerical.
Right, which that clerical is actually, it's not counted. The way that section is that is all of administration is together. That's how it has typically been, which means it's borough manager and finance together. So there's the accountant and then there's the admin. And that admin was Teresa. It's now Tiffany Toomey. That's her. Because I remember when I was doing the budget, I put on there how many employees there were and on the worksheets.
So I think, I believe we're short-staffed. I see it. I see it not only when I come in here during the day, but I see the fact that the committee's lost their staff member for meetings. I see it all around. We had a much larger staff at one time. And we reduced and reduced and reduced. And we're now to the point where we have to skip necessary functions because we're reduced. I think the part-time suggestion is the way to start this out. So, I mean.
I agree. I was just trying to make sure everyone understood the fiscal impact.
When I counted, I thought it was actually from an unfilled position as well, but I understand the explanation. But again.
No, because I removed all of the unfilled positions.
Yeah, but I agree. The part-time is the way to start out because, number one, you can see, where you can best utilize that person. Plus, number two, what kind of person you're getting. But like you said, when you talk about saving money, time costs money too. And there's inefficiencies and how long it's taking you to get things through the system. That costs money as well. And I think the admin, like Eric said, when you see it when you come in, people are just overtaxed. I'm not going there, Frank.
Not going there. All right.
Are we saving money or is it by going through a temp agency?
No, it costs more because we actually pay them money.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
So Leo, I think the savings is making sure we get the right employee. So if I have somebody that, we're not actually taking under our wing underneath our finance, so to speak. If they're not working out, we send them back and ask for another one until we find the right person. Now, fortunately, the last time we did this, we found a great thing.
Well, we can do that. We can do that. Work it out.
So
We're done.
the problem that I see with that is if we go part-time, they have a certain window that they follow, and if they pass that window, then they're part of the union. Then they can change completely after that. And I see it time and time again where we get stuck with a individual where we didn't have proper time to vet them. So
I don't disagree. I need that explanation.
Sure.
That's good enough for me.
Yeah, it was good enough for me too, because I don't like paying the extra money for the temp.
Yeah, too many mics are. Anyone have any questions, any further questions? Yes, Frank? I'm not gonna be able to eat ice cream tonight.
I heard the mention of cross-training. How many have we cross-trained and how many duties would that be? Like when somebody's out, somebody fills in because they know how to do the job. So you're cross-training them to do that job. How many have we cross-trained?
currently, Frank, we're in a skeleton crew. We cannot take one person from one position and put them in another. That was the point of having the additional administrative assistant, is to learn something different. If somebody calls in sick, we do without.
When did that change?
When we reduced everybody.
When we reduce staff.
When we reduce staff.
Because I know back when Norm Meister was here, he did it, and it wasn't pretty, but he did it.
I honestly, Frank, I don't know what the conditions were back then. Norm Meister was before my last time being here, so we're talking quite some time ago.
Any further questions, comments? Anyone have a problem voting?
No.
No. Could I have a motion to authorize staff to contract attempt to hire part-time administrative assistant?
So moved.
A motion by Councilperson Fisher, second by Councilperson Murphy, to authorize attempt to hire part-time administrative assistant. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. Staff reports, comments, and announcements. Solicitor Gable.
I have nothing further to add at this time.
Engineer Ronaldo, he's saying no. Secretary Treasurer. Boards, commissions, and committees, upcoming meetings. HARB meets on March 12th, which is tomorrow. Parks and Rec meets on Thursday. Planning Commission will hold a workshop and a regular meeting on the 18th. On the 20th, there is a joint council and planning commission meeting, and Shade Tree meets on the 24th. In your packet, you have the approved minutes for LASA from January, the Planning Commission 2024 report, Planning Commission meeting minutes from 2/18, and Planning Commission workshop minutes from 2/18. Borough Council comments, Councilperson Brigard.
Hey, yeah, just bookend this evening. So proud of our police department under the leadership of our fine chief, Jack Brummer. I've ridden with all those folks that were up here today. I can't say I'm best friends with them, but I've heard their stories. And I know why they're here. They could be elsewhere. They're here because they choose to be here. They're good people. I think we should do more of this, to be honest with you. We should do it regularly. And to our 4 young fellows that got up here, who were recognized tonight, boy, use 4 of them on every block. How about it? Proud of them. I'm proud of the people of this borough. I'm also proud of council. For the last couple sessions we've had, there's been a lot of discussion, a lot of back and forth, even back to the tax, increase. Seeking out all options, discussing all the different avenues, possibilities, bad ideas, good ideas, sometimes not landing on
most favorite idea, but it's the right idea at the time. I'm really proud of how council has engaged recently. It's been fun, it's been hard, it's been difficult, it's been taxing, but it's been rewarding as well. And I'm proud to serve with all of you.
Ditto.
Thank you.
Heather, I would just, being here for 3 years and 4 months, I still don't know all the ropes. But my understanding is that when there's a non-agenda items and citizen comments, that it's a 5-minute time limit, and we give people leeway. But I think to allow a citizen to run the meeting, I think maybe we've crossed the line, and maybe we should look at that a little bit. And just so everybody knows, I did apologize to Frank, because I don't want any of my comments to make a citizen feel slighted. But at the same time, I think these kind of things protect us from falling into that kind of, when we're looking at this full agenda. And I think Frank was up there for maybe a half an hour. So just wanted to make that comment.
Council President Kaufman.
Yes. First, I'd like to thank Wilson and Bonnie. This weekend, the Market House had three events. And I know Saturday was a open with Wilson and Bonnie to close with Wilson and Bonnie. I think you closed around 12 o'clock Saturday night. So special thank you for stepping up and helping out.
Also, I want to say thank you to council, because there were 4 people who said, I'll be there to help you close. And I thought, you got my butt off the couch at that time of night. But 4 people walked through the door.
From council?
From council.
Wow. Thank you, council.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're gonna.
The other thing I want to say is Parks and Rec still needs volunteers. So please consider your time and join. Thank you.
I just would like to publicly thank Mr. and Mrs. Herr, who helped out a lot at the Market House on Saturday, from washing tables to sweeping up, getting the trash. It just shows how the community really does come together when we need them. And I'd just like to thank them for what they did this weekend.
Just fill in for Todd. Just if you haven't yet, sign up for Text My Gov. You'll know when the street sweepers happen. You'll know when the trash. You'll know when things are changing. So it works for me. So you're welcome, Todd.
I just have to piggyback off of Todd's comment on tonight. I just watching the awards for both citizens and our police officers, just beaming with pride.
Yeah.
And this is why we do all this, and why we argue over the budget and where we spend money. It's worth it when you see people pouring their lives into, what feels like really matters. It doesn't always feel that way when we're talking about numbers back here, but just recognizing that's what I'm proud as a homeowner here and a taxpayer, that my money goes towards, and that fine people in uniform can afford to live here and do what they do is worth it. So thanks, Chief. And I just wanted to say a little bit too, in terms of working with our contracted services, professional services. Derek, over the years, has been just nothing but professional in terms of his involvement, his advisement of this council, of his recommendations based upon our requests and our budgeting, our desires in terms of what's the priority, what isn't. And I personally, I have never experienced him vying for for more work, right? His plate has been very full here and much appreciated. And, you know, as a council, it is, of course, our role to always be objective and not to, you know, don't trust anyone, right? So don't pat yourself on the back too much. But all that said, to have professional relationships that we can look to over the years through past multiple councils, multiple managers is an asset to this borough. And I don't want anyone to say that isn't true. I thank you for your work, Derek, Evan, and just this whole lineup here is what makes this borough tick. So, yeah, thanks, guys.
I just want to say thank you to everyone for the great discussions this evening. Really good. And Jack, let's not hold all of the things like all at once. Like, you know what I mean? Like some of them were from like 6 months ago. Like, come on, let's get them here when they happen. Okay. And Barbara, I just want to address what you said about the comments.
Yeah.
You know, we had done that before, and we said about the 5-minute time limit, and then things would happen, and we say it's great conversation, we'll let it go, and we want to have that, and then we get called out for having different rules for different people and everything else. And so it was said that we just let it go. We're going to let it go. That, you know, we're not enforcing the time limit, and that's, we don't want to shut people up, because if you cut them off, it's making it, it's escalating the situation. So that's why we have not been enforcing that. If everyone wants to go back to the strict 5 minutes.
No, wait, may I respond?
Mhm.
I don't want the timer and everything like that, but I thought that they were just making comments, not asking questions and having a dialogue. That's why when he asked me about that 1%, I said, should I answer that? Because I didn't think that was the time.
Well, and that's, it's your.
And yet that's what happens every week. People start responding, and before you know it.
And it's more than 5 minutes. Because
Yeah.
they take their 5 minutes and then, oh, now we're here, I'm gonna take 5 minutes, and then take another here, and it just doesn't stop.
Yeah,
And it
just
draws the meeting out
let them make their
and out.
comments and.
I think there's a responsibility as well. The folks that want to share comment,
Mhm.
totally welcome. What if we had
Yeah.
a whole room full of people that want to share for 45 minutes? It's not going to work.
No.
I think if what you have to share is so important that we want to hear it. If it is that important for you to make a trip down here to offer comment, we want to hear it. It's important. But if there's a time limit, I believe you also have a responsibility to maybe compress time, rewrite, practice, whatever it is, so it fits within a framework that, number one, we can understand it, digest it, and appreciate it, and not become arguments.
And it's for
and
comments
uncontrollable.
only.
And I will honestly say that for the most part, almost every person that comes up to speak does that. So if you start singling people out and saying they can't talk because they're not doing what other people are doing, that's not appropriate either.
You're not singling the person out. You're directing the way the conversation or the way the comments are being delivered.
Then
You're not really hearing it. It's what you're going to say.
well, no, but not only that, then you didn't have to answer.
That's why I said, should I answer? I didn't.
It's up to you know.
Yeah, but I thought that time was for citizen comments, and I don't want to squelch that at all. I want to hear comments. As a matter of fact, I appreciate all the comments.
All right. Did you want to
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
Barb kind of.
All right. Could I have a motion to, I'm sorry, announcement of next meeting at 7 PM on Thursday, March 27th. Council will hold a regularly scheduled meeting. It's that Thursday because Tuesday, the 25th is a special election. Could I have a motion to adjourn? A motion by Councilperson Geezy, second by Council Hoffman to adjourn at 10:10 PM. All in